Chapter 685. In a Chevrolet Suburban, Charlotte handed Serenity's last painting to Alessio. Take a look. What is this place? Alessio looked at it carefully. After a moment of silence, he said, Boss, is this place real? Charlotte said, I don't know. That's why I'm asking you. Alessio looked at the painting again. I can't tell what this place is, but it looks like a small town in Italy. There are many small towns like this in Italy. They have preserved many medieval buildings. But this painting is obviously a small town in the Middle Ages. The people in it are wearing clothes from that period. He obviously didn't notice that there was a very special existence in the painting. It was a young Asian man wearing jeans and Nike sneakers. You're from Sicily. Is that place like this too? Charlotte didn't remind Alessio to look at the place. Alessio smiled bitterly. There are many places in Italy that are not bad, but Sicily is an exception. It's a terrible place. The Italian mafia originated in Sicily. It's full of drugs and violent crime. The worst things you can imagine happen there every day. You won't like that place. It's my hometown, but I hate it too. How much do you know about Da Vinci? Charlotte asked another question. Da Vinci? Haha, boss. Every Italian knows Da Vinci. To us Italians, Da Vinci is like Li Bai to you Chinese. He's the pride of us Italians. Charlotte smiled. You know Li Bai? That's not simple. Can you tell me about Da Vinci? Alessio looked embarrassed. I only know that he painted Mona Lisa and that his hometown is in Vinci. It's about 100 kilometers north of Arezzo. I haven't been there, but I know that place. It's quite famous. Many people go there for Da Vinci. He paused and looked at Charlotte with a strange look. Boss, what's wrong with you? When did you become so interested in Da Vinci? Are you going to Italy? Yes, I want to visit Italy. Charlotte said, If I go to Italy soon, can you help me arrange it? Are you talking about sneaking in? Asked Horatio. Charlotte nodded. Yes, I don't want the CIA to know that I went to Italy in the FA organization. Can you help me with this? Alessio shrugged. What's the big deal? Leave it to me. What about security? Boss, that's Italy. There were rules there, and even people from the CIA had to follow them. Otherwise, his corpse would be lying on the street. I may not be a big shot in Italy, but I have a lot of friends. I promise you, no matter who tries to touch you, you will regret it. Charlotte smiled. Then it settled. Help me arrange it. No problem. Wait for my call. Alessio left Charlotte's car. Alessio's fox wasn't exaggerated at all. He was the dragon in the Zodiac team, brave and invincible, fearless of death. In addition to this identity, he also had another identity, which was a member of the Italian mafia. He grew up in that dark land, and he was familiar with everything there. He also had his ways. It was a wise choice to go to Italy and let him accompany him. After Alessio left, Charlotte drove back to Lemon Military Factory and then went to his office. Chairman Xia, please have some tea. Qin Kaiwe made a cup of tea for Charlotte. Thank you. Charlotte turned on the computer and then entered Mona Lisa into the Baidu search engine. The webpage was full of content related to Mona Lisa. He opened Baidu Encyclopedia and read the content. Qin Kaiwe moved closer to Charlotte, looked at the content on the monitor, and asked curiously, Chairman Xia, do you like this painting? Are you talking about Mona Lisa? Charlotte said casually, Yes, I'm talking about Mona Lisa. I've been to the Louvre in Paris, and I've seen that painting. You've seen the original painting? Qin Kaiwe pursed her lips and smiled. It's in the Louvre. You can see it when you go there. Chairman Xia, if you like this painting, you should really go to the Louvre to see it. It's really a treasure in the art world. There are many legends about it. There are many secrets hidden in it, and they haven't been solved until now. Charlotte suddenly thought of Peaceful being possessed. She looked nervous and scared, and she kept mentioning the Mona Lisa. He thought to himself, she painted the Mona Lisa and kept talking about the Mona Lisa. Does she want me to go to the Louvre to see the painting? Is there really a secret hidden in that painting? Or is it a clue? Chairman Xia? Charlotte came back to his senses. He smiled and said, It's okay. I'm just thinking about whether I should go and see it. Qin Kaiwe said, I suggest you go and see it, but it's impossible if you want to buy the painting. It's the treasure of the Louvre. It's not for sale. It's just a painting. I don't want to buy it. Go do your thing. I'm just looking, Charlotte said. Qing Tsayue's soft hand suddenly landed on Charlotte's shoulder. Xiaolei was stunned for a moment and looked a little embarrassed. Qing Tsayue's hand left Charlotte's shoulder, and there was a strand of black hair between her fingers. That strand of hair was obviously not a man's hair, because it was long and soft. That strand of hair should be peaceful. Taking the hair from Charlotte's shoulder, Qing Kaiwe didn't say anything. She took the hair and left. The expression on her face was weird. It felt like she wanted to laugh, but she was trying hard to hold it in. Charlotte was even more embarrassed. Well, it's not what you think. Qing Kaiwe turned around and smiled at Charlotte. Chairman Xia, am I thinking about something? I'm not thinking about anything. But you have to be careful. It's not good if someone sees it. Charlotte, was she not thinking too much? Looking at Qing Tsayue's mischievous smile, Charlotte was speechless. But just as Qing Kaiwe turned around to leave, his left eye twitched uncontrollably. A ripe peach suddenly entered his left eye's field of vision. Its color was as white as jade, and its texture was as tender as a flower stamen. What a superb voluptuous bud! Her waist was especially slender, and it formed a sharp contrast with the plump curve of her buttocks. Not to mention anything else, just her small waist and buttocks were enough to qualify her as a stunner. Charlotte controlled the naughty thoughts in his heart, and a wry smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. He didn't mean to look through Qing Tsayue's eyes, but her actions just now were too ambiguous, and she even seemed to be teasing him. He didn't know what was going on, but he couldn't control his left eye. When she walked to the door, Qing Kaiwe looked back at Charlotte with a beautiful smile on her face. Charlotte felt guilty, so he avoided her gaze and looked at the content on Baidu Encyclopedia. His attention quickly shifted away from Qing Tsayue's big white bud, and a paragraph of content caught his attention. The text was about the secret hidden in the eyes of the Mona Lisa. In her left eye, there was a letter that looked like an orb, and in her right eye, there was the letter. When he saw the text, he immediately ruled out the possibility of the letter B. He couldn't suppress the excitement in his heart. Could this be the secret hidden in the Mona Lisa? That painting contains the secret and clues of Serenity keeps reminding me of the Mona Lisa. This can't be a coincidence. It seems that I have to go to France before I go to Italy. Chairman Xia. Qing Kaiwe appeared at the door again. Charlotte looked up at her. Yes, what's the matter? There's a gentleman with the surname Yu who wants to see you. Then, she added, there's also a Miss Tang. As soon as Qing Kaiwe finished speaking, Tang Yin's voice came from outside. Chairman Xia, do you still want a secretary? I want to change careers. I'll be your secretary too. Tang Yin walked in with a teasing smile on her face. Chairman Xia, do you think I'm pretty? My figure isn't bad, right? Just take me. Xiaolei's head was throbbing. How is this a secretary interview? This was simply saying that he judged people by their appearance and was a lecherous boss. Qing Tsayue's cherry lips suddenly curled up. She was very unhappy, but she wasn't a fool. Tang Yuyin even dared to tease Charlotte like this. How could their relationship be normal? She didn't want to provoke a woman like Tang Yuyin because of this. Yushana also walked in. He was the Mr. Yu that Qing Kaiwe had mentioned. Charlotte had actually guessed this a long time ago. However, he couldn't guess the purpose of Yushana's visit. And Tang Yuyin. He couldn't understand why Tang Yuyin was with Yushana. Mr. Xia, we meet again. Yushana smiled and greeted him. Charlotte stood up and smiled. So it's Mr. Yu. Welcome, please sit down. Then he said, Kaiwe, go make 2 cups of tea. Okay. Qing Kaiwe looked very obedient. Tang Yuyin glanced at Qing Tsayue's butt and said, this butt is really fat. It's beautiful and sexy. You should hire someone like this when hiring a secretary. Charlotte, Yushana coughed. Tang Yuyin spoke to Charlotte like this. To put it nicely, it was a joke. To put it bluntly, it was flirting. Tang Yuyin restrained herself, but there was still a trace of annoyance in her eyes when she looked at Charlotte. She liked Charlotte. She wanted Charlotte. This was already an open secret in 101 innings. However, Charlotte didn't take the initiative and brought her goddess. How could she not be annoyed with him? Charlotte avoided Tang Yuyin's gaze. Well, Mr. Yu is a distinguished person. It must be something good, right? You're right. I really brought you good news this time. Yushana said with a smile. What good news? Charlotte asked. Tang Yuyin moved closer to Charlotte and gently poked Charlotte's heel with the tip of her foot. This seemed to be a secret signal. Charlotte's heart skipped a beat, but he didn't show it on his face. Yushana didn't notice Tang Yuyin's small movements. He said, Don't you know? The Hellhound artillery of the Thunder Horse military factory has made a big impact on the battlefield in the Middle East. Now the whole world is talking about this ultimate weapon. Charlotte was stunned for a moment. In fact, he really didn't know that the Hellhound artillery had been used on the battlefield in the Middle East. If this was true, it would be a very good thing for the Thunder Horse military factory. However, Yushana couldn't have come specially to congratulate him, right? Chapter 686. Yushana didn't explain further, but took out an Apple mini iPad from his work bun and handed it to Charlotte. Take a look, there's a video on it. It's a video of the battle between the Syrian government forces and the terrorists. You'll know how powerful your Hellhound is after watching it. Charlotte woke up the mini iPad, and a player interface appeared on the screen. He clicked the play button and began to play the video. In the video, a group of Syrian government forces were attacking a small town occupied by terrorists. A Russian T-90 tank appeared in the camera, majestically firing at an abandoned residential building. The sound of the cannon was deafening, and a burst of fire exploded. The debris of the building flew around in the billowing smoke. However, the terrorists hiding in the residential building were not killed, and they immediately fired back. The T-90 tank immediately adjusted the direction of the turret and prepared to fire a second shot. However, before it could complete the second shot, a flame suddenly flashed in a residential building next to it. The flame flew close in the blink of an eye and hit the turret of the T-90 tank. There was a loud bang, and the turret of the T-90 tank was suddenly blown away. The fierce fire rolled into the tank's cockpit, and the burning driver screamed and jumped out of the tank, but he soon fell to the ground and stopped moving. Then the ammunition in the tank exploded, and the scene was terrifying. That's an American-made Dow anti-tank missile, the world's most advanced anti-tank missile. Tang Yuyin said, That's really amazing. They killed the most advanced Russian tank, just like that. Charlotte said, with some emotion. The video continued to play. The Syrian government's tank was destroyed, and the infantry lost cover and firepower support, and suddenly fell into a passive situation. The terrorists hiding in the ruins took advantage of the situation to attack, and they counterattacked under the cover of heavy machine guns and rockets. Their numbers were almost twice that of the Syrian government forces, and their equipment was all American-made, far better than the Syrian government forces. In this situation, the Syrian government forces would either be killed or caught. If they were caught, what awaited them would be a cruel beheading. At this moment, the camera switched to a corner. Two Syrian government soldiers quickly took out two Hellhound cannons from two engineering plastic boxes. In less than a minute, they completed the operation of man and cannon, as well as the reloading action. After that, they moved the two Hellhound cannons to the rear of the formation. No matter how one looked at it, it was a mistake to place a cannon on a person's shoulder. That was because it would only take a second for the cannon's recoil to destroy a person's shoulder. And it looked so unscientific, so weird. However, once the problem of the recoil was solved, it gained another great advantage, which was that its movement speed was extremely fast, and the speed at which it aimed and fired its cannons was also extremely fast. This was not for any other reason, but because humans were its cannons. The moment the two soldiers operating the Hellhound cannon entered the battlefield, they opened fire in the next second. Boom! The flames suddenly appeared, and the terrorists, who were caught off guard, were immediately sent flying. In an instant, there were corpses and fragments of corpses everywhere. They used the shrapnel bombs made by the Thunder Horse military factory, which are specially used to kill people. Tang Yuyin said, her eyes filled with admiration. Even without her saying it, Charlotte knew what kind of shells the two Syrian government soldiers used, but he was still shocked by the weapons he designed and manufactured himself. In the video, the terrorist offensive was disintegrated, but their nightmare was not over. The two Hellhound cannons fired a few more shots. They were like snipers, easily taking out the enemy's firepower. Even the terrorist sniper, who was 1,000 meters away, was no exception. He was killed with a single shot. That unlucky sniper, the effective range of his sniper rifle was not even as good as the effective range of the Hellhound cannon. The two Hellhound cannons turned the tide of the battle. The terrorists who occupied the town were either killed or fled. The Syrian government forces took advantage of the situation and were invincible. At the end of the video, the person who shot the video said something. He spoke in Arabic, praised Allah, and the Hellhound cannon. There was also the last sentence. China's weapons were the best in the world. Xiaolei was very happy in his heart, but he still kept a straight face. He returned the mini iPad to Yu Shanhe and said politely, "Mr. Yu, did you come for this? Did you specially show this video to me?" Of course not. This video was obtained by our intelligence personnel, but this is not the only one. Intelligence personnel from European and American countries have also obtained a lot of similar videos. This is why I said that your Hellhound cannon is so popular, Yu Shanhe said. This is indeed a good thing. Thank you. Charlotte knew Yu Shanhe had another purpose, but he did not ask. At this time, Qin Kaiwei brought in 2 cups of tea, one for Yu Shanhe and the other for Tang Yuyin. During this process, Tang Yuyin kept staring at his, but like a female hooligan. Qin Kaiwei couldn't lose her temper and left Charlotte's office as if she was escaping. After Qin Kaiwei left, Yu Shanhe said, "It's like this. We think we received an invitation from the French government. They're going to hold an international weapons exhibition in Paris, and they specially invited you and your weapons to participate." Although Charlotte had guessed Yu Shanhe's purpose, he did not expect it to be like this. Tang Yuyin gently kicked Charlotte with the tip of her foot again. Although she did not speak, Charlotte understood her hint. She was hinting at him not to agree. This might be the reason why she followed Yu Shanhe here, and her source of information was most likely her father, Tang Tianlong. "Mr. Xiao, what do you think?" Yu Shanhe asked tentatively. Charlotte thought for a moment and said, "What do the higher-ups mean?" Tang Yuyin kicked Charlotte's heel again, but this time it was as if Charlotte had a pair of eyes on the back of his head. He took a small step forward and dodged it. "It's like this," Yu Shanhe said. "You see, Thunder Horse Arms Factory has participated in the Russian weapons exhibition and our own weapons exhibition. But whether it's the Russian weapons exhibition or our own weapons exhibition, it's actually nothing. The real influence is the weapons exhibition in Europe and the United States. Thunder Horse Arms Factory aims to win glory for the country, so it can only go out and challenge the authority of Europe and the United States in the military field. You asked me what the higher-ups mean. Well, this is what the higher-ups mean." Charlotte thought for a moment. "When?" Yu Shanhe said, "In half a month. We're in France." Charlotte asked. "Paris." Yu Shanhe said, "If you decide to go, you can leave in 2 days. After all, you have to prepare after going there, which takes time." "Charlotte, you..." Tang Yuyin wanted to say something, but stopped on second thought. Her eyes were full of worry. Yu Shanhe's gaze moved to Tang Yuyin. "Yuyin, you said that you came here by chance. I think you were deliberately holding us back, right?" It turned out that Tang Yuyin and Yu Shanhe were not on the same side. "How am I holding you back?" Tang Yuyin looked aggrieved. "I didn't say anything," Yu Shanhe said coldly. "You'd better not say anything." Tang Yuyin curled the corner of her mouth and did not speak. But she still did not give up. She looked at Charlotte and blinked her big black eyes, using this method to interfere with Charlotte's decision. How could Charlotte not understand Tang Yuyin's intentions? He also knew very well that Yu Shanhe was definitely not kind enough to invite him to France to participate in the weapons exhibition. If he went to France, he would have to face the CIA and the FA organization. It could be said that he was going deep into the tiger's den. If he was not careful, he would be crushed. Knowing the situation, not only did Tang Yuyin not want him to go, even he did not want to go. However, when he thought of the Louvre and the Mona Lisa in the Louvre, his heart couldn't help but waver. Peaceful kept reminding him of the Mona Lisa in a strange state. She also said that there was no time and that they were coming. In this situation, how could he stay calm? Of course, it was safe to stay in China, but nothing ventured, nothing gained. Since he already had plans to go to Italy, Why not go to France openly? In addition to the ex-secret gold project, the Thunder Horse military factory also needed to enter the European and American market and defeat the arrogance of the European and American military enterprises. Okay, Charlotte quickly made a decision. I'll go, but who'll guarantee my safety? Yushana smiled. Of course, 101 innings. I think there's a candidate who wants to accompany you to France, right? Charlotte's eyes moved to Tang Yuyan. Tang Yuyan glared at Charlotte, seemingly dissatisfied that he had agreed to this matter. Charlotte smiled. What I want is not the protection of 101 innings. What I want is the protection of the country. Protection of the country? What kind of protection are you referring to? Yushana asked. Charlotte said, what I want is an official status, and I also want a security guarantee from the French government. Yushana suddenly frowned. Mr. Xia, your requirements are very high. France is the organizer. How can they provide you with a security guarantee? Also, you want an official status. You're the boss of the Thunder Horse military factory. We can't say that you are the ambassador to France, can we? If that's the case, isn't it too childish? Charlotte shrugged. If that's the case, then I won't go. Yushana was very angry. Charlotte said, I have my concerns. I almost lost my life in Germany last time. I won't go to France this time if there is not enough security. Why don't you let Mu Jianfeng and Yi Kun go? Their identities are much more important than mine. Will you go if your conditions are met? Of course, if my conditions are met, I will go, Charlotte said. Well, I'll go back and talk to the higher-ups. Wait for my call. Yushana didn't want to stay any longer, so he left after saying this. After Yushana left, Tang Yuyan said, Are you stupid? Can't you see that you doesn't have any good intentions at all? He is looking for an opportunity to let the CIB kill you. If you die, will your sister and your father be able to protect your Thunder Horse military factory? Charlotte smiled. I won't die so easily. Tang Yuyan kicked Charlotte's heel. Why don't you understand my heart? I break out in a cold sweat for you when I think of the risks you will face in France. But you, a heartless guy, still annoys me. Stay for dinner, Charlotte said. I don't care. You must take me with you to France. After a pause, she added, You can't take Long Bing. Charlotte. Chapter 687. Mona Lisa, Da Vinci, the Italian town of Bobbio, ancient alloy. These things were entangled in Charlotte's mind, bringing him confusion and motivation at the same time, making him eager to go to the Louvre in Paris and Bobbio in Italy. Of course, he had to go. Nothing ventured, nothing gained. Charlotte had already made up his mind, but he couldn't make up his mind whether to bring the people from 101 innings or not. If it was in the past, the protection of 101 innings would have been a necessary option for him to go to France. But now he had his own Zodiac team, and every member of the Zodiac team had extraordinary strength, so they could complete the task of protecting him. He would definitely bring his Zodiac team on this trip to France, so the people from 101 innings would become a problem instead. He didn't want Sherborin and the people above to know that he had such a terrifying team in his hands. Before Charlotte could make a decision on this matter, two new guests came to his office, Long Bing and Liang Xiao. The three female section chiefs of 101 innings appeared by his side at the same time. No matter which time it was not a good thing. Why are you two here? Before Charlotte could greet them, Tang Yuyan spoke, looking very surprised. Can't I come? Long Bing's tone was indifferent. Tang Yuyan shrugged and shifted her gaze to Liang Xiao. Liang Xiao said, The Paris International Army Weapons and Air Defense Systems Exhibition has been held every 2 years since 1992. It is currently the largest army exhibition in Europe. The exhibition is supported by the French Ministry of Defense and organized by the French Army Defense Equipment Manufacturing Board. It is the only exhibition involving army weapons and surface-to-air defense equipment. The exhibition attracts hundreds of arms manufacturers and government agencies from Europe, Asia, the United States, and Africa. It is a microcosm of the future development of global army weapons. At that time, nearly 1,000 arms manufacturers and sellers from 5 continents will participate. How can we not know that the Thunder Horse military factory is participating in such a grand event. As expected of a CIB intelligence officer, he knew the situation in Europe like the back of his hand. The corner of Tang Yuyan's mouth curled up. So you guys are also here for the weapons exhibition in France. Your noses are really sharp. Liang Xiao smiled faintly. Section Chief Tang has a sharp nose. You arrived earlier than us. Tang Yuyan said, since you know that I arrived first, don't fight with me for this mission. I'll go to Paris with Charlotte. I'll go. Longbing only said 2 words. Liang Xiao was more tactful. I'm familiar with the situation in Europe. Let Charlotte decide for himself. The gazes of the 3 women gathered on Charlotte. Charlotte's headache worsened. Of these 3 women, one was his ex-girlfriend, one was his lover, and one wanted to marry him. No matter who he chose, the other 2 would not be happy and would be at odds with him. Well, Charlotte bit the bullet and said, forget it, I'll go by myself. The 3 women all looked surprised. They couldn't believe that Charlotte had made such a decision. Charlotte said, you are all from 101 innings, and your identities are very sensitive. It will be very dangerous for you to go to France. Aren't you in danger? Tang Yuyan rolled her eyes at Charlotte. Charlotte said, I know very well what I will face, but I have already put forward the conditions to Yushanha. I will have an official identity from a country, and the French government will also provide me with security. If I go openly, even the CIB won't dare to touch me, right? You think the Americans are too honest, Liang Xiao said. They won't touch you openly, but do you dare to say that they won't do it in the dark? The promise of the French government and the official identity you said are nothing in the eyes of the Americans. They have run amok more than once. They will not let you go. Why don't we all go? Long Bing said, we don't need to choose anyone. All 3 of us will go with you to Paris. She was always so considerate. Tang Yuyan's lips moved a little, but she didn't say anything. It was a tacit agreement. Charlotte had a headache again. The 3 of them would accompany him, and they didn't want him to choose. What excuse could he find to refuse? But at this moment, Xia Chang'e came in. Let him go by himself. He is right. Your identities are too special. It will be troublesome if you go. Especially you, Miss Liang. You're the former intelligence officer of the CIB and the Asia director. You are now a target that the CIB wants to get rid of. If you go to Paris, will the CIB let you go? Liang Xiao said, but Xia Chang'e interrupted her. Charlotte is 1 target. If you go, it will become 2 targets. And you, Miss Tang, you killed a lot of CIB people in the Middle East. You are also a target that the CIB must get rid of. Miss Long, I won't say anything about your situation. You know it better than me. If all 3 of you go to Paris, it will become 4 targets. If one of you has a problem, and the other 3 have to go to rescue him, wouldn't that be playing into the CIB's hands? The 3 female section chiefs of 101 innings were silent. They looked at each other and couldn't find any words to refute. Indeed, if Charlotte went alone, it would be 1 target. If the 3 of them went, it would become 4 targets. If the CIB caught one of them and used that one as bait, the other 3 would have to think of a way to rescue him. This would make Charlotte's situation more passive and dangerous. Charlotte couldn't help but want to give his dad Xia Chang'e a thumbs up. The older, the wiser. Xia Chang'e winked at Charlotte. Charlotte understood. Then it's decided. I will go alone. Don't worry, I can handle it. It's not the first time I have dealt with the CIB. They can't do anything to me. You're good. You're good, okay? Tang Yuyan said angrily. Charlotte smiled. Okay. I know you care about me. I will be fine. I can't be bothered to care about you, Tang Yuyan said. Stay for dinner. Charlotte changed the topic. Okay. Liang Xiao said with a smile. You build a house. I haven't been there yet. It's a good time to take a look. Longbing didn't say anything. She just nodded. She was still worried about Charlotte's decision. Chairman Xia. Qin Kaiwa walked in from the outside. A Miss Shinta wants to see you. Qin Saiyue's words made the lively office quiet down. It was so quiet that a pin drop could be heard. There were too few people with the surname Shintu, and there was only one person who could come here to find Charlotte. Whether it was Liang Xiao, Long Bing, or Tang Yuyan, They all knew that she was Shinatianin, Charlotte's ex-wife. A question popped up in the hearts of the three women almost at the same time. Why did Shinatianin come to see Charlotte at this time? Charlotte was also puzzled. She didn't come to see me because of the Paris Arms exhibition, did she? If so, I will eat my desk. Chairman Xia? Qin Kaiwei reminded him. If you don't have time to see her, I will ask her to wait in the reception room. Charlotte came back to his senses and said, No, you can ask her. Before Charlotte could finish speaking, Tang Yuan interrupted and said, Secretary Qing, you probably don't know who Miss Shinto is outside, right? Qin Kaiwei was stunned for a moment, then shook her head. I don't know. Tang Yuyan said, She is your boss's wife. Qin Kaiwei suddenly opened her mouth. Tang Yuyan added, The former boss's wife. Qin Kaiwei was speechless. Miss Tang, your mouth is still so sharp. Amidst the melodious voice, Shinta Tianin walked in from the outside. She was wearing a long black dress and a pair of black high heels. She was dressed simply, and there were no unnecessary decorations on her body, but she gave off a feeling of beauty. Her aura was still so strong, and she became the most eye-catching existence as soon as she arrived. The only jewelry on her was the Sacred Heart gem necklace that Charlotte had given her. It was a gift from Baldwin IV of the Kingdom of Jerusalem to his sister, Sibylla. It was exquisite and dazzling, and it made the queen's aura on her even thicker. Although Shinta Tianin had divorced Charlotte, she did not return the necklace to Charlotte. From Charlotte's point of view, he could not ask her for the necklace back, could he? Tianin, you're here. Charlotte greeted him. He had a smile on his face, but he was crying in his heart. Tang Yuyan, Long Bing, and Liang Xiao had already given him a headache. Now that Shinta Tianin had come, he felt that he was at his wit's end, and his head was about to split open. Yes, I have something to talk to you about, Shinta Tianin said, and then she glanced at Xia Changhe. Xia Changhe's appearance suddenly made her realize something, and then she said, This is Dad. Uncle, right? As a wife, her husband's father should be called Dad, but that was before the divorce. It was obviously not appropriate for her to call him Dad as his ex-wife, so she changed it and called him Uncle. Tang Yuyan pouted again. She felt that Shinta Tianin had done it on purpose. Wearing the necklace that Charlotte had given her was intentional, and calling Xia Changhe Dad was also intentional. Yes, you must be Tianin. Xia Changhe's reaction was indifferent. Dad, Uncle. Shinta Tianin was a little embarrassed. Charlotte and you guys talk. I still have something to do, so I'll leave first. Xia Changhe had never liked Shinta Tianin. He didn't want to stay after chatting with Shinta Tianin for a while. Shinta Tianin sighed lightly while a sense of loss filled his heart. Tang Yuyan laughed. Miss Tianin, if you auction that necklace of yours, it should be able to sell for hundreds of millions, right? It's so beautiful. This sentence seemed to be said to Charlotte. You divorced her, but you didn't take back the necklace that was worth hundreds of millions. You pig, Shinta Tianin said lightly. That was given to me by my husband. I won't sell it, even if it's worth 10 billion. I know you also have one, but it's not as good. If you want to sell it, I'll give you 200 million, okay? Tang Yuyan snorted. You make it sound like my Tang family is short of 200 million. If you want to sell the necklace on your neck, I'll give you 1 billion. There's an inexplicable smell of gunpowder in the office. Charlotte's head was about to split open. Tianin, why are you looking for me? A subsidiary of the Wanxiang Group needs some mechanical products. I'm here to talk to you. Shinta Tianin said, I saw that you built a new house on my way here. Why don't we go to your house and talk? Okay, why don't you stay for dinner? Charlotte said with a smile. Well, I'll cook, Shinta Tianin said. Charlotte. Chapter 688. When Shinta Tianin said she would cook, she really did so without any hesitation. She wore an apron and washed the rice and vegetables. The kitchen was covered with her footprints. In this world, only 2 men had ever eaten the food she cooked. One was her father, Shinta Run, and the other was Charlotte. It was definitely an honor to be able to eat Shinta Tianin's cooking, but Xia Lei felt a headache. Other than a headache, there was nothing else. Who does she think she is? Is she still your wife? In the living room of Ping and Residence, Tang Yuyin stared at Charlotte and said unhappily, "What food is she cooking? Don't you have a chef? You guys are already divorced, and she's cooking for us. What does that mean?" It was Liang Xiao's voice. Charlotte smiled bitterly. "Even if we are divorced, we are still friends. Friends cooking for friends, that's nothing, right? Nothing? It's nothing for her to cook for you today, and it's nothing for her to want to remarry you tomorrow, right?" Tang Yuyin said. "Charlotte, who was the one who invited them to stay for dinner? He wanted to give that guy a good beating, even if that guy's surname was also Xia, and his name was Lei." Charlotte's gaze shifted to Long Bing. Tang Yuyin and Liang Xiao were entangled with him, but Long Bing had been very quiet, not causing any trouble at all. He couldn't help but say in his heart, Bing is still the best. She's the most obedient. But at this moment, Long Bing said, "Lei Zi, Shinda Tianyin has never been a simple woman. If she really wants to remarry you, will you remarry her?" Charlotte. A second ago, he was still praising her in his heart, but in the next second, it changed. Long Bing didn't fight for anything and didn't care what kind of woman he dated. The only thing he cared about was Shinta Tianyin remarrying him. It was for no other reason than that Shinta Tianyin was a very domineering woman. Once she remarried Xia Lei, she would definitely not allow Xia Lei to be with her. Shinta Tianyin's appearance had already threatened her, so how could she remain calm? "You said you want to go to France alone? That's not a problem, but you want to remarry Shinta Tianyin, I won't agree." Long Bing said. Tang Yuyin and Liang Xiao looked at Long Bing at the same time. "I say, what does it have to do with you whether they remarry or not? If you don't agree, what's the use of not agreeing?" Tang Yuyin was obviously provoked by Long Bing's words. Liang Xiao's expression was very strange, and so was her words. "Don't tell me, you guys." Long Bing didn't admit it, but she didn't explain either. She just looked like she could guess whatever she wanted. Charlotte was already having a headache. "Yeah, it's just a meal, right? Why did you make things so complicated?" Tang Yuyin said. "Is it complicated?" Liang Xiao said. "Is it complicated?" Long Bing said. "Is it complicated?" Charlotte was speechless. Liang Xiao suddenly said, "Even if they get back together, it won't be Shinta Tianyin's turn, right?" Long Bing and Tang Yuyin's eyes fell on Liang Xiao at the same time. Liang Xiao's words were too easy to understand. Even if they were to get back together, it should be her, his ex-girlfriend, getting back together with Charlotte, not Shinta Tianyin. Was there a cue for such a thing? Tang Yuyin coughed. "A good horse doesn't go back to eat grass." "Lazy, haven't you been deceived enough by women? If you want to get married again, you must find a woman who is compatible with you and won't lie to you." "Tang Yuyin, what do you mean?" Liang Xiao was unhappy. "Did I mean anything else?" "Oh, if I did, please don't misunderstand. I wasn't talking about you," Tang Yuyin said with a smile. "You?" Liang Xiao was speechless. Charlotte's gaze swept across the three women who were his enemies, and he thought to himself, the meal hasn't even started and it's already like this. When the meal starts, won't I die? Charlotte, you idiot. Why did you invite them to stay for a meal? However, at this moment, Sylvia and Anina walked in. "Hi, Lucas. I heard from Miss Ching that you're treating at home, so Sylvia and I won't be eating at the cafeteria. We'll come back for a good meal," Anina said with a smile. She didn't notice the smell of gunpowder and vinegar in the room at all. In fact, the gunpowder in the room had already reached the point where it could be detonated with a single spark. As for the vinegar smell, it could definitely cook 100 vinegar fish. Sylvia was even more direct. "Lucas, come to my room after dinner. I have a question that I want to discuss with you." Perhaps there was a loophole that needed to be patched. Fortunately, Anina and Sylvia were speaking German, and the three women in the room only knew some simple spoken English, so they couldn't completely understand what the two German women were talking about. But even if they couldn't understand, Charlotte couldn't sit still for another second. He stood up and walked to the two German women while putting on a serious expression. "Oh, so it's about the tank's engine. Let's go out and talk. Let's go out and talk." Before the two German women could react, Charlotte was already out the door. He then turned back at the door and asked, "What are you guys still doing there?" The two German women looked at each other and followed Charlotte out the door. Charlotte led the two German women to a corner far away from the living room and asked, "Why are you guys back?" "To eat." The two German women said in unison. "Go to the cafeteria and eat. I'll cook for you tonight," Charlotte said with a serious expression. "Why?" the two German women asked in unison again. Charlotte sighed. "Didn't you guys see? Those three women are all female agents. We're discussing a secret operation, so you guys can't eavesdrop." Wow, it looks so exciting. Sylvia was very excited. I love watching movies about spies and agents. My dream when I was young was to be a spy. Just thinking about it makes me excited. Lucas, if there's anything you need me to do, just let me know. I'm not afraid of danger, and I can do anything for you. No problem. If there's anything I need you to do, I won't stand on ceremony with you. Charlotte said mysteriously. Me too. You taught me how to shoot, so I can fight, Anina said. Anina, if there's anything I need you to do, I won't stand on ceremony with you either. Charlotte then said, "Now listen to me and go back to the cafeteria to eat. I'll cook for you guys tonight." "Can I order?" Sylvia asked. "Sure. What do you want to eat?" Charlotte asked. "Sweet and sour bananas." Sylvia ordered. Charlotte was speechless. "Hee, I'm just joking with you. We're leaving." Sylvia hugged Charlotte and then kissed Charlotte's cheeks and lips. Anina also hugged and kissed Charlotte goodbye. Then she whispered in Charlotte's ear, "I don't want sweet and sour bananas, but I want honey bananas. And I'm serious. I'm not joking." A few black lines appeared on Charlotte's forehead. After sending off the two German women with great difficulty, Charlotte's heart relaxed a little. Otherwise, he would have to face 6 women at once. Ex-girlfriends, lover A, lover B, lover C, and the one forcing him to marry Miss Tang. He didn't dare to imagine the scene. Sigh. Those two engineers are so troublesome. They have to ask me such a small question. Back in the living room, Charlotte pretended to complain. "Even the engineers are such young blondes. It must have been hard on you," Tang Yin said. Charlotte originally wanted to lower Anina and Sylvia's salary, but after hearing Tang Yin's words, he couldn't bring himself to say it. "Hubby, oh no. Charlotte, can you come over and help?" Shinta Tianyin walked over from the kitchen. Her voice was gentle and pleasant. Charlotte bit the bullet and said, "Okay, I'll be right there." Then he stood up and said, You guys talk. I'll go help." After Charlotte left, Tang Yin suddenly said, "How shameless. She's already divorced, yet she's still pestering Charlotte. She's purposely creating an opportunity to be alone with Charlotte, right?" Long Bing said, "I'll go help too." Liang Xiao stood up and walked toward the kitchen. Tang Yin and Long Bing couldn't help but look at each other. An ex-girlfriend and an ex-wife. With these two women together, won't Charlotte be fooled to death? Tang Yin said. Long Bing said indifferently, "You can go and keep an eye on them. Don't encourage me to go. Just wait and eat, lazy bum." Tang Yin also stood up and walked towards the kitchen. Before Tang Yin could take a few steps, Long Bing suddenly stood up and walked over. "Forget it, I'll go help." A few minutes later, in the kitchen, who washed the vegetables. "The mud isn't even clean." "I did it. If you think it's not clean, why don't you wash it again?" "Are you going to make sweet and sour pork ribs? Who would like to eat such disgusting dishes?" "Charlotte, my apron is loose. Help me tie it." "Charlotte, help me wipe the sweat on my forehead. My hands are not empty." "Charlotte." Charlotte was speechless as he faced the picture of 4 women in a kitchen. What he wanted to do most now was not to help anyone tie the apron and wipe the sweat. What he wanted to do most was to hit his head against the wall and in front of the 4 of them. A meal that combined the cooking of the 4 women was finally ready. Xia Changhe did not appear, nor did Xia Shui and Ryu Yungnam. Charlotte still faced the 4 women alone. "Lazy, eat a piece of pork ribs." "I made it." "Lazy, eat a piece of eggplant." "I made it." "Lazy, taste this fish." "I cooked it." "Lazy, eat meat." As soon as the meal was served, Charlotte's bowl was full. "Eat it. I'm definitely full. If I don't eat it, will these 4 women agree?" He looked at his bowl and lowered his head. The baby's heart was bitter, but the baby didn't say anything. He was actually secretly glad in his heart. Fortunately, Fan Fan and Jiang Rui didn't come. If Fan Fan and Zhang Rui were here, it would be like 2 kings plus 4 twos. He would be blown away. Ring, 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 ring. When he was in great pain, his cell phone suddenly rang. Charlotte took out his cell phone, glanced at it, and then answered the phone. Mr. Xia, I've mentioned your request to the higher-ups. Yu Shana's voice said. The higher-ups agreed. After research, they decided that this time you will go as the Vice President of the Academy of Sciences. With this identity, no one will dare touch you. Vice President of the Academy of Sciences? Okay. Charlotte's face finally showed a smile. What about the French side? The higher-ups have called France and explained your situation in detail. The French side promised that there will be no arrest operation against you. If there is no arrest in France, there will be no arrest in other countries. You're not a criminal, so you don't have to worry about this, Yushana said. Then I'm relieved. When are you leaving? Right away. I'll be right there. Right away. Yushana was puzzled. So soon? Well, wait a minute. I'll be right there. Without waiting for Yushana to say anything, Charlotte hung up the phone, then got up and said, You guys take your time. I have something urgent to do. Excuse me. The 4 women stared at him. Charlotte turned around and left. He didn't dare to stay for a second. If he continued to eat this meal, he might die. If he didn't leave now, when would he? Chapter 689. America, Langley, Virginia, CIA headquarters. Gu Qian put down the report in her hand, and a smile appeared on her face. France? Hee hee. Perfume beauty, you'll definitely get something. It might not be the kind of thing you want. She had just read the report. It was the latest intelligence, and the content of the report was that Charlotte would be participating in the International Arms Exhibition in Paris. Thinking of Charlotte, Gu Qian made a strange movement. She put her right hand in her pants and touched a scar on her breasts. This scar was left by Charlotte. It itched, and so did her teeth. Knock, knock, knock. There was a knock on the door. Gu Qian withdrew her hand from her pants and looked at the office door. Come in. A Korean agent opened the door and walked in. Boss, the director wants to see you. Got it. I'll be right there. Gu Qian picked up the report on the table. Williams also had the same report on his desk, and there were 2 guests in his office. One of them was Sylvia's boyfriend, Adolf Hillman. The other was the CIA's European director, Sean. Gu Qian saw the report on Williams's desk as soon as she entered. She said, Mr. Williams, you already know? Williams nodded. Sit. Gu Qian and Sean looked at each other, and then shifted their gaze to Adolf Hillman. Adolf Hillman nodded slightly at Gu Qian as a greeting. Charlotte is going to France to participate in the International Army Arms Exhibition. This is the information we just received from France, Williams said without beating around the bush. Gu Qian said, I also just received the intelligence. The source of the intelligence is China. Williams said, I don't care about the source of the intelligence. I want the results. Last time, the fishing fort project failed, and the higher-ups are already questioning our ability. This time, we have to catch Charlotte no matter what. We can't fail again. I'll do my best, Gu Qian said. She didn't know why, but the scar on her began to itch. She couldn't scratch it in front of 3 men. I don't want you to try your best. I want results. Williams's eyes were cold. This time, you and Sean will work together. Mr. Adolf Hillman will also join in this operation. This time, we must take down Charlotte in France. Gu Qian said, according to the intelligence, Charlotte is going to France as the vice president of the China Academy of Sciences and the chairman of Rema Group. We, the president of the Academy of Science? Williams sneered. This fake identity can't protect him. Even if we take him down in France, the only thing the Chinese government can do is protest. Haven't we heard enough protests? So what if I hear it again? Gu Qian's lips curled into a smile. I understand. Paris will be the last stop of Charlotte's life. Get ready. You and your men will board the plane to Paris in an hour. Williams said. Gu Qian left Williams' office. Sean, how much do you think Gu Qian knows about Charlotte's secret? Williams suddenly asked. I'm not sure. Sean thought for a moment. But based on my experience, I think she should know a little but not a lot. After all, she doesn't have this kind of information channel. Adolf Hillman said, "The fewer people who know, the better. This is why we have been protecting this secret. The secret of Charlotte is too important to us. He can even trigger a human revolution. If we want to measure Charlotte's value, then he is priceless. For him, it is necessary to start a war." This was the position of the U.S. government. For Charlotte, it was even willing to start a war. If they were willing to pay such a price, why would the CIA be willing to use the identity of the vice president of the China Academy of Sciences on Charlotte this time? Williams looked at Sean. "Sean, do you know what to do?" Sean nodded. "This time, I will bring Charlotte back to Langley at all costs." A smile appeared at the corner of Williams' mouth. "And Gu Qin, pay more attention to her. Don't let her come into contact with more of Charlotte's secrets. If necessary, she could be sacrificed." "I know what to do." Sean's face was expressionless. A few minutes later, Adolf Hillman knocked on the door of Gu Qin's office. "Mr. Adolf Hillman, what can I do for you?" Gu Qin was not interested in the handsome blonde man in front of him. "It's like this." Adolf Hillman was very polite. "You're the CIA's Asia director. You control the Asian intelligence system. I want to ask you about someone." "Who?" "Sylvia." Adolf Hillman said, "She's my girlfriend, but she actually stayed in China to work for Charlotte." Gu Qin said, "The information about Sylvia isn't of much value. I'm sorry, but I can't help you. But based on my understanding of Charlotte, I suggest you find a new girlfriend." "What do you mean?" Adolf Hillman's face showed displeasure. Gu Qin shrugged. "Your girlfriend is willing to stay in China to work for Charlotte. Isn't that enough? Very few women can resist Charlotte's temptation. Charlotte is full of seduction skills. Do you understand what I'm saying?" Adolf Hillman's face darkened. For a man, there was nothing more humiliating than his woman being taken away by another man. "Mr. Adolf Hillman, is there anything else?" "No, thank you." Adolf Hillman left Gu Qin's office. Gu Qin sneered. "Just keep wearing your green hat. You don't know how many times Sylvia has been F***ed by Charlotte. You can open a hat shop if you keep wearing one at a time. At the same time, China's capital international airport. Kid, you really don't want my people to protect you?" Sherborin asked Charlotte next to a Boeing 747. This was the 5th time he had asked this question. Xiaolei smiled. "Boss, sure, I know you're concerned about me, but I appreciate your kindness. I've already thought it through, and I won't make any changes. You're really stubborn, kid. Have you ever thought about the consequences of doing this?" "I have, but it's the right thing to do. Don't worry, I'm tough. I won't die." Sherborin rolled his eyes at Charlotte. "Do you think you're a cat with 9 lives? Why don't you bring my goddaughter along? Yu Yin is meticulous and knows how to take care of people." Charlotte was speechless. "Sigh, I really don't know what the higher-ups are thinking. You're simply our national treasure. If anything happens to you, it'll be a huge loss." "I'm not a panda." Charlotte smiled. "I can actually understand what the higher-ups are thinking. No matter how good our country's military products are, we won't be able to enter the market. Why? Because there's prejudice and discrimination against us in the world. This is detrimental to the development of our military industry. The weapons exhibition in France is an opportunity to prove our country's military industry and a chance to fight back against the arrogance and prejudice of the Western world. If our country's military industry wants to go out and enter the international market, this step is indispensable. If I can change the situation, what's a little risk?" This was one of the reasons. The other reason was naturally the Mona Lisa and the small town of Bobbio in Italy. A trip to France was necessary for him, both for his business and for his private life. Sherborin hugged Charlotte. "Forget it. I won't persuade you anymore. I'll just say one thing, be careful. If you go to France, I won't forgive you if you come back with a single hair missing." These words were so domineering that Xia Lei didn't know what to say. "Hurry up and go. There are still people waiting to say goodbye to you. I won't be a nuisance." Sherborin pushed Charlotte away. Charlotte smiled bitterly and walked to the boarding stairs. There were 3 women standing in front of the boarding stairs. They were the 3 section chiefs of 101 innings, Long Bing, Tang Yuyan, and Liang Xiao. He didn't know why, but since the lunch 2 days ago, he was not used to the scene of 3 female section chiefs appearing at the same time. He always felt that trouble would befall him. Come back alive. Tang Yuyan was the first to speak. Remember, there are people here waiting for you to come back. This was equivalent to a confession. Charlotte nodded and softly said, don't try to be brave and don't leave the team. Liang Xiao urged. Charlotte nodded again and softly said, Long Bing didn't say anything. She walked in front of Charlotte and reached out to adjust the collar of his shirt. She was still the same. She would never say what she could do. It was just a simple action, but Xia Lei's heart was filled with warmth. But this ambiguous action of Long Bing provoked Tang Yuyan and Liang Xiao, and the two women's small lips curled up. Charlotte said, You all go back. Why come back? I will bring you local product from France. What local product from France? Tang Yuyan wasn't so easy to coax. Charlotte thought for a moment. Well, perfume and cosmetics are local products of France, right? I will buy authentic French perfume and cosmetics for you. Then I also want 2 sets. The corner of Tang Yuyan's mouth finally showed a trace of a smile. I want 3 sets, Liang Xiao said. Long Bing just looked at Charlotte and didn't say anything. Charlotte said, Don't you want it? If you don't want it, I will buy it for you. A smile also appeared on Long Bing's face. After chatting for a while, Charlotte got on the plane. As soon as he got on the plane, he saw that Mu Jianfeng and Yi Kuan were also on the plane. The two of them just glanced at him and didn't even greet him. Charlotte wasn't surprised that the two of them appeared on this private plane. After all, Mu Jianfeng and Yi Kuan were the bosses of state-owned military enterprises. The French International Army Arms Exhibition was almost a grand event for military enterprises all over the world. They certainly wouldn't miss it. However, the two of them had been causing trouble. What kind of trouble would they cause this time? Not knowing why, Charlotte had a trace of worry in his heart. The plane quickly took off. Charlotte's gaze fell through the plane and fell on the runway behind. He saw the 3 female section chiefs of 101 innings still standing on the runway, watching the plane leave. Women, Charlotte used his hand to hold his chin because he felt that his head had inexplicably increased weight. Chapter 690. Not far from Charles de Gaulle Airport was their destination, the Villepinte Exhibition Center in Paris. It was the largest exhibition center in Europe where the biennial International Army Weapons Exhibition was held. The relevant personnel from China were arranged to stay in a 5-star hotel called Star of Paris, next to the Villepinte Exhibition Center. Charlotte didn't bring many attendants with him, just Qin Kai-wei and a few experienced staff members. There was also Yelena, but she didn't participate in the exhibition work. She acted as a bodyguard. Of course, these were just the personnel on the surface. Long before Charlotte left for Paris, the other members of the Zodiac team had already arrived in Paris. They were also lurking around Charlotte, protecting Charlotte and waiting for Charlotte's orders. Charlotte's room was on the top floor of the Star of Paris. It was a presidential suite overlooking the Villepinte Exhibition Center. Chairman Xia, if there's anything you need me to do, just let me know. I'll live next door to you. After helping Charlotte with his luggage, Qin Kai-wei said to Charlotte. Well, thank you, Charlotte said. Qin Kai-wei pursed her lips and smiled. Chairman Xia, you don't have to be so polite with me. I'm your secretary. These are all part of my job. Charlotte said, the exhibition hasn't started yet. In the next few days, you will take our people to decorate the exhibition area. If there are merchants, you can negotiate with them on my behalf. This, Chairman Xia, there's no problem with decorating the exhibition area, but negotiating with merchants. How can I do that? Qin Kai-wei couldn't believe that Charlotte had arranged such a job for her. How is this the job of a secretary? This was simply the job of the boss's wife. She didn't know why the keyword boss's wife came to her mind, but as soon as she thought of it, her face turned red, and the way she looked at Charlotte was a little different. Charlotte didn't know what his secretary was thinking. He said, why not? If I say you can do it, then you can do it. Tomorrow, take some people to decorate the exhibition hall. Call me if you encounter anything you need me to solve. Don't you want to see our exhibition hall? Charlotte said, I have something else to deal with tomorrow. That's all. You can go back to your room and rest. Then, I'm going back. Qin Kai-wei turned around to leave. Suddenly, She stumbled, and her body fell to the ground. Perhaps it was to maintain her balance. Her right leg stretched out in the air. Her short skirt slid back to her waist, revealing her snow-white thighs and the bottom of her thighs. Oh my God! She only had a black thong under her short skirt. The meager amount of fabric did little to conceal the important areas. And it was precisely because of this movement to maintain balance that it suddenly tightened, deeply embedding itself in a place where it should not be embedded. Therefore, it was equivalent to a rope submerged in the swamp. It no longer existed. However, she did not fall to the ground in the end. Xiaolei wrapped his arms around her waist and hugged her. Her waist was very thin, giving him the feeling that her waist would break if he exerted a little strength. Her extremely sexy buttocks were pressed against his lower abdomen, bringing softness and extreme stimulation. Her secret scenery also became an existence that made him uncomfortable. It was difficult for him to move his eyes away. Under the double stimulation, he quickly had that kind of instinctive reaction, and the fabric of his trousers became tighter. Fortunately, Qin Kai could not maintain her kicking action in the air for a long time, so she put down her long legs. The secret scenery disappeared, and Charlotte quickly helped her up. After her full and tight buttocks were no longer in contact with him, he felt a little relaxed, but also a little disappointed. Director Xia, thank you. If it weren't for you, I would have fallen, Qin Kai said with a red face. When she spoke, the corner of her eyes quietly fell on Charlotte's trousers. She noticed the obvious change in that place, and her mouth also floated a trace of a smile that was not easily noticed. It's okay. Go back and rest. Charlotte was also very embarrassed. The trace of a mysterious smile on Qin Kaiyue's lips suddenly disappeared. This was not a normal routine. The normal routine should be a domineering so, rushing over anxiously, but Charlotte asked her to go back to her room to rest. The accidental fall, just now, was such a good fall, but it was for nothing. Actually, at this point, Charlotte also saw through Qin Kaiyue's thoughts. This vixen wanted to seduce him. In this world, there were too many examples of female secretaries seducing their own bosses and eventually becoming the lady boss. Men conquered women by conquering the world, and women conquered the world by conquering men. He had too many things that Qin Kai wanted: money, status, and looks. But other than work, he could not give her anything. Then I'll go back and rest. Qin Kaiyue's words were rhetorical. Her meaning was obvious. If you don't eat, you won't be able to eat. Charlotte smiled. Go rest. After such a long flight, you must be tired. Have a good sleep. Tomorrow, bring people to decorate the exhibition hall. Qin Kai nodded in disappointment and left Charlotte's room. Charlotte laid on the bed, but in his mind, the image of the moment when Qin Kai was about to fall kept appearing. The snow-white long legs, the rolled-up short skirt, and a part of the black thong that disappeared. Why am I becoming more and more sensitive? In the past, my self-control was very good, but now that I have been stimulated like this, I think that kind of thing. Could it be that the evolution of the AE capsule has spread to my system as a man? Hopefully this is the peak. If I continue to evolve, I will probably become a man like King Zhou or Yang Guang. Charlotte had a lot of messy thoughts in his mind. The evolution that the AE capsule brought him came step by step. First, it was his left eye, then his brain. Now, it reflected his ability as a man. The ability of the left eye and the superbrain brought him extraordinary success, but his ability as a man made him very speechless. He was very clear about his own changes. In the past, he was a single-minded man with extraordinary self-control. He would not easily have a relationship with a woman. But now, he had become a playboy who played games in the human world. His original extraordinary willpower had long flown beyond the clouds of the ninth heaven. If this continued, what would happen? Wait. While his imagination was running wild, Charlotte's mind suddenly thought of something. The AE capsule made my body evolve. My left eye is approaching perfection, and my brain is also approaching perfection. It is making my body perfect step by step. It seems to be a trend for my body to evolve to a perfect state. In other words, During this period of time, the evolution of my ability as a man will also reach perfection. The evolution of the eye and brain towards perfection was naturally the stronger the better. But if the ability as a man also evolved to a level that defied the natural order, what would happen? Other men would always think of ways to become stronger in that area, but he was afraid of becoming stronger in that area. If this secret was made known to the world, he did not think that he would become the public enemy of all men in the world. Finally, he thought of the last AE capsule. Approaching perfection is not absolute perfection. In other words, my left eye and my brain are currently not the strongest. If I eat the last AE capsule, will my left eye and my brain evolve to an absolutely perfect state? What kind of concept would that be? Absolute perfection. Absolute perfection. He could simulate very complicated calculations, but he could not simulate an absolutely perfect state. The question of whether to eat the last AE capsule or not was placed in front of him again. Ding dong, ding dong. Suddenly, the doorbell came from outside the door. Charlotte climbed up from the bed. His left eye twitched slightly, and the door suddenly disappeared from his left eye's field of vision. There were 3 people standing outside the door, 2 men and 1 woman. One of the men was in his early 50s. He was slightly fat, had fair skin, and was dressed appropriately. One look, and one could tell that he was a person who lived like a prince. The other man was in his 30s. He had a strong body, sharp eyes, and there was a layer of obvious calluses on his finger bones. Just from this characteristic, it was not difficult to tell that he was a person who had undergone combat training for a long time. The last woman was in her 20s. She had long blonde hair and a pair of blue eyes. She was about 1.9 meters tall, but her body was curvy. She was very voluptuous. Charlotte had never seen these 3 people before. Without waiting for Charlotte to open the door, Yelena walked out from the opposite room. She did not speak, but only looked at the 3 people standing in front of the door. The young man among the 3 people turned around to look at her the moment she opened the door. There was a hint of vigilance in his eyes. Yelena only showed her face for a moment, and then she retreated back in her room. She was the chicken in the Zodiac team. She was best at eliminating hidden targets. She had her own way of judging. Her appearance and her departure actually showed that these 3 people were not a threat. This scene naturally did not escape Charlotte's eyes. After Yelena returned to her room, he went to open the door. "Excuse me, you are," Charlotte tentatively said, his French a little stiff. "Oh, Mr. Xia, this is the first time we have met," the older man said with a smile. "Please allow me to introduce myself. I am Crétine from the French Department of Arms and Equipment. This is my assistant, Jacqueline Eva." The blonde girl smiled at Charlotte. Crétine then introduced the man next to him. "This is Captain Erickson. He is from the National Gendarmerie Commando. He will be responsible for your safety while you are in France." Erickson also nodded to Charlotte. It turned out that he was from the French government. Charlotte opened the door and said with a smile, "Please come in. Please come in and talk." Jacqueline Eva said with a smile, "Mr. Xia, your French is very good. I was originally here as an interpreter, but you made my existence very awkward." "I know a little French, but I am not very familiar with it," Charlotte said. But the truth was that his brain contained all the French words and knowledge in the world. The reason why he spoke French was a little stiff was that he had hardly spoken French since he learned it. But given a little time, he would be able to get rid of this obstacle. The 3 Frenchmen entered Charlotte's room. Crétine went straight to the point. "Mr. Xia, you are the most important guest we have invited. This time I am here to talk to you on behalf of the French government. Before we start talking, I would like to ask you to make a promise. I wonder if it is possible." "What kind of promise do you want me to make?" Charlotte asked. He was also guessing the purpose of the 3 Frenchmen. "It's very simple. Don't leak the content of our conversation." Charlotte smiled. "Of course, no problem. But what are we going to talk about?" Chapter 691. Erickson stood at the door with his back to the door. His burly body stood at the door like a statue, giving off an aura of one man holding the pass against 10,000 enemies. The French National Gendarmerie was one of the world's top 10 special forces and was famous far and wide. The French government actually sent a captain of the French Gendarmerie to be responsible for Charlotte's safety, which made Charlotte feel a little flattered. Mr. Xia, I won't beat around the bush. I'll get straight to the point, Crétin said. I'm here on behalf of the French government. We've received information that you've set up a production line for XL 2500 sniper rifles and Gale assault rifles in Germany. In addition, you've given Germany 2 Thunder Dragon intelligent machine tools. I'm telling the truth, right? Yes, it's true. Charlotte didn't hide it. The European Union had a shared intelligence system. Although it was an alliance, there was also a competitive relationship between the member states. There were also endless scandals of eavesdropping and surveillance. Judging from this situation alone, it was not surprising that France had obtained the relevant information. Since the French already knew, there was no point in denying it. What did you get from Germany? Crétin looked straight at Charlotte and observed the change in Charlotte's expression. Charlotte said faintly, I don't know about that. I'm just an entrepreneur. I design and produce our own products. There are some things I don't know and can't decide. You Chinese are the best people I've ever seen at doing business. Don't tell me you got nothing from the Germans. Charlotte smiled. Since you have the answer in your heart, why are you still asking me? I've made it very clear just now that I'm just an entrepreneur. Can I represent the Chinese government in a transaction with the German government? I'm not qualified at all, and the higher-ups won't tell me what I got from the Germans. That's the situation. Mr. Crétin, if you're here to verify the authenticity of the information you've obtained, I'm afraid I'll disappoint you, and you've come to the wrong place. No, I won't come to the wrong place. Crétin smiled. Mr. Xia, do you know how many rules we have broken in order to invite you to France? Other military enterprises had to sign up to participate. Not only did they have to pay the exhibition fees, but they also had to bear the corresponding responsibilities. But you don't have to pay any fees, and even this hotel is arranged by us. Other exhibitors can enjoy this kind of treatment. Also, we've sent Captain Erickson to take care of your safety. He won't be dispatched easily. Most importantly, we have also borne the pressure from the United States for you. We have sternly rejected some of the excessive demands from the United States. We've sacrificed so much. How could I have come to the wrong place? He had said so much, but he only meant one thing. Whatever the Germans got from you, we want to get it too. What he didn't say was, what the Germans gave you, we can give you too. At this point, Charlotte was already well aware of the 3 Frenchmen's intentions. However, he still maintained a calm expression on his face and responded calmly. Mr. Erickson, thank you for your preferential treatment. But I still don't understand. Why are you looking for me? Mr. Xia, you're an extremely intelligent man. I think you should know our purpose, right? Crétin said. Charlotte shook his head, looking confused. Mr. Crétin, I really don't know. I'm good at designing weapons, but I'm not good at guessing other people's minds. So, if you have anything to say, just say it. Crétin and his assistant, Jacqueline Eva, looked at each other. After a glance, the person who spoke became Jacqueline Eva. Mr. Xia, we also want your XL 2500 sniper rifle and Gale assault rifle production line, as well as your Thunder Dragon intelligent machine tool. The Germans are willing to pay the price, and so are we. We invited you to France in order to make this deal with you. Sure enough, that was the purpose. However, Charlotte had a new guess in his heart. Such a statement should have come from Crétin's mouth, but it came from Jacqueline Eva's mouth. In the exchange of glances just now, could it be that the one in charge was not Crétin, but this young French woman? If so, she couldn't be Crétin's assistant. So what was her identity? The thoroughly meticulous observation skills shrouded Jacqueline Eva's identity in a layer of mystery, making this matter even more interesting. This. Xia Lei hesitated for a moment, his expression troubled. You should talk to our government. Why are you looking for me? I'm an entrepreneur, and I really can't make the decision when it comes to politics and diplomacy. Jacqueline Eva said, if we could go directly to your government, we wouldn't have gone through so much trouble to invite you here. Mr. Xia, the situation in France is different from that in Germany. Germany is the strongest country in the European Union, and I don't need to say how powerful its manufacturing industry is. So, they don't care much about the attitude of the Americans, but we are different. We can't cooperate with your government like Germany. After all, we can't do without the support of the United States in many international affairs. The closest ally to the United States was the United Kingdom, followed by France. In World War II, Britain, the United States, and France were also the main forces of the anti-fascist alliance, and at that time, Germany was the enemy. Although some history had long been revealed, the problems left by history could not disappear in just a few decades. In Germany, there was no shortage of people who regarded the United States as a threat or even an enemy. When these people entered the political arena, they certainly wouldn't care about the feelings of the Americans in certain matters. Charlotte was silent for a moment before saying, "You mean you want to make a private deal with me? Not to let the Chinese government or the American government know?" Jacqueline Eva showed a sweet smile. "That's what we mean. So we're here. How about this? It's such a big matter. Can you give me some time to think about it?" Charlotte said, "Of course, we don't expect Mr. Xia to make a decision in a few minutes." Crétin said, "You can think about it carefully, and then we'll make an appointment to talk about it. Erickson will stay, and he and his people will be responsible for your safety. Although we refuse some excessive requests from the United States, we still hope that Mr. Xia will try not to go to public places or go out alone." Charlotte said, "Isn't that boring? I've been longing for France for a long time. Paris is famous for its fashion and romance. If I can't even go out on the street and hide in this hotel, then wouldn't I have come for nothing? I really want to go to the Louvre to have a look. Is that okay?" "Well," Crétin glanced at Jacqueline Eva. Charlotte frowned. "What you said is very nice, but I can't see your sincerity. If you come to China, I will definitely invite you to the Forbidden City, the Great Wall, and wherever you want to go. I will take you there and arrange everything for you. But I can't even go to the Louvre to have a look. It's boring." Crétin hurriedly said, "Mr. Xia, it's not that we're not sincere. It's just a small matter that you want to go to the Louvre. It's just that we have to think about your safety. You don't want to have any accidents because of going to the Louvre, do you?" Charlotte shrugged. "You can go back. I'll go to the Louvre myself. I'm not a criminal. I can go wherever I want. Even the United States can't do anything to me. Don't come to me to talk about any deal. You're so afraid of the United States. If the United States finds out that you've made a private deal with me, how will you explain it to them? Go back and don't cause trouble for each other." "Mr. Xia, do you really have to go to the Louvre?" Jacqueline Eva looked at Charlotte. "It's not that I have to go. I just feel a little angry." Charlotte looked unhappy. "No problem. How about I arrange a special show for you tonight?" Jacqueline Eva said. "Special show?" Charlotte was stunned. "Yes, special show. I'll take you there tonight. The Louvre is only open for you, Mr. Xia." Jacqueline Eva said. "How can I do that?" Charlotte couldn't help but snicker in his heart. If he was the only one visiting the Louvre, he wouldn't be disturbed. "Isn't that what you want?" Charlotte smiled. "All right then. I'll go. Thank you." Jacqueline smiled at Charlotte. "Mr. Xia, you should take a rest first. I'll pick you up tonight." "Okay, goodbye," Charlotte said. Jacqueline, Eva, and Christian left, but Erickson stayed behind. Not only him, but also his men. There were a total of 8 men, all special forces of the French gendarmerie. They controlled the top floor of the hotel. After Jacqueline, Eva, and Christian left, Yelena came to Charlotte's room. "Boss, our men are nearby. There's no need for the French gendarmerie to guard here. Their presence will affect our actions," Yelena said. Charlotte said, "The French gendarmerie will indeed bring us some trouble, but they will also bring us some benefits. With them, the CIA will not dare to act rashly. The most important thing is that they can help us resist the threat from the FA organization. If the FA organization comes, they won't be lenient. That's right. They won't fight with the CIA for us, but they certainly won't let go of the FA organization. So it seems that they will share 50% of the pressure for us. Yes, free cannon fodder. Why not use it?" After a pause, Charlotte said, "Get ready. We're going to the Louvre tonight." "Why are we going to the Louvre?" Yelena looked puzzled. Charlotte didn't explain, but said, "I have my purpose. You don't have to worry about it. Contact our men and tell them to be careful. Don't let the French gendarmerie find out. Yelena nodded and left. The image of Jacqueline Eva appeared in Charlotte's mind again. He couldn't help but speculate. From my observation, her identity and status are obviously higher than Christian's. She is the one in charge, but why did she pretend to be Christian's assistant? This woman is not simple. What is her identity? The room was quiet, without the slightest sound. Charlotte's brain entered another state in this quiet environment. The Jacqueline Eva that appeared in his brain was suddenly dissected. However, this was definitely not to use a knife to cut her body into pieces of minced meat, but to analyze her according to her various characteristics. Her skin was magnified and then peeled off. His brain used these characteristics to determine whether she was wearing a human skin mask or not. The details of her clothes were also magnified, and then her body was stripped away. His brain, based on these characteristics, gave him her living standards, hygiene habits, and the measurements of her chest, waist, and buttocks. To his own surprise, the data given by his brain was accurate down to the millimeter. However, it was useless. Apart from using the ability of his brain to simulate her naked body, he still couldn't analyze her real identity. Height 1, 92 meters, weight 141 kilograms, three-dimensional dimensions 88, 52, 99. Is she a devil? The superbrain sometimes did some boring things. However, it was undeniable that Jacqueline Eva's figure was the best among Western women. She was hot enough. Chapter 692. At 10 o'clock in the evening, Erickson knocked on Charlotte's door. Mr. Xia, Miss Eva is here. Are you ready? If you are, we can go now, said Erickson. Xiaolei shot a glance at the several fully armed special forces of the French National Gendarmerie standing behind Erickson and said, I don't have anything to prepare. I can set off at any time. Erickson made an inviting gesture and said, Mr. Xia, please come with me. Yelena, who was also in the room, also got up and followed Charlotte to the door. But when she reached the door, she was blocked by Erickson's arm. Yelena looked at Erickson expressionlessly. Erickson said, Miss, I'm sorry. We only invited Mr. Xia. You can't go with us to the Louvre. Charlotte said, She's my secretary. Why can't she go with us? Erickson said, I'm sorry, Mr. Xia. The order I received was only to pick you up. No one else can go except you. Charlotte frowned and said, Eva, my secretary, can't go? Erickson said, Mr. Xia, please don't make it difficult for me. Yelena's face was cold. She was about to lose her temper when Charlotte stopped her. Fine, I'll go alone. Yelena's lips moved. She wanted to say something, but didn't say it. You're free to do whatever you want, Xiaolei said before leaving with Erickson. Yelena returned to her room and took out a satellite phone. Boss has gone downstairs with the French. If those gendarmerie show any signs of abnormality, kill them. Roger. They have been under our surveillance. Alessio's voice came from the satellite phone. After ending the call, Yelena went out again. She already had a large backpack with a Gale assault rifle and enough ammo. In fact, it made no difference whether she and the other members of the Zodiac squad went to the Louvre with Charlotte or not, because Charlotte had never left the sight of the Zodiac squad. As long as there was a situation, they would be able to react as quickly as possible. Walking out of the hotel, Charlotte saw 3 cars parked on the side of the road. There was a black Mercedes-Benz welcoming car and 2 military off-road vehicles. All 3 cars were bulletproof. The window of the Mercedes-Benz was rolled down, and Jacqueline Eva stuck her head out of the driver's seat. Xiao Xiaxing, please get in. I'll be your driver and tour guide tonight. If you need anything, just let me know. Don't stand on ceremony. Well, thank you so much. Charlotte opened the front passenger door and got into the car. Jacqueline Eva started the car and pulled into the driveway. Erickson and the 7 special forces of the French National Gendarmerie rode in the 2 military SUVs. One of the SUVs quickly overtook Jacqueline Eva's car and cleared the way. There was a faint scent of perfume in the Mercedes-Benz welcome car. It smelled like tulips mixed with gardenia. It was very special and pleasant. Charlotte sniffed lightly. Miss Eva, What perfume is this? Huh? I didn't know Mr. Xia also likes perfume. Jacqueline Eva laughed. This is a secret perfume called Marie's Desire. It's not sold in the market. Marie's Desire? What a special name. It's not sold in the market. How did you get it? My mother gave it to me. She's very good at it. If you like it, I can give you some. Well, if you give it to a girl as a gift, the girl will be very happy. Jacqueline Eva maintained a beautiful smile on her face. She observed Charlotte's face from the corner of her eyes. How can I do that? Well, I'll pay you. Before he could finish his sentence, Charlotte suddenly shook his head gently. Just as he was about to say, I'll pay you, his brain suddenly became dizzy. Soon, his lower abdomen became faintly hot. He actually had that kind of desire. This perfume is not normal. Mr. Xia, are you trying to say that you're going to pay me? I won't take your money. You're a distinguished guest in France. It's only right for me to give you a gift. It was Jacqueline Eva's voice. Her voice sounded a little different in Charlotte's ears. It sounded illusory. Charlotte shook his head again, but the feeling of dizziness was getting stronger. Mr. Xia, can you tell me why you're so interested in the Louvre? Jacqueline Eva turned her head and looked at Charlotte. She changed her question. I'm going to the Louvre, Charlotte said, sounding very tired. His eyes moved to her thighs. Her skirt was very short, only covering a quarter of her thighs. It was simply a mini skirt among mini skirts. Because she was driving, her legs were straighter and farther apart. As a result, the bottom of her skirt was an open secret. It was a rose-colored mesh with excellent ventilation. He didn't know whether it was because of the mysterious perfume or the rose-colored mesh, but Charlotte's thinking had become very slow. It was a simple question, but he found it difficult to answer. Not only that, but his brain also had some hallucinations. He felt that sitting next to him wasn't a blonde, but a goddess emitting a holy light. She was like Athena in Greek mythology and a little like Guanyin in Buddhist mythology. But whether it was Athena or Guanyin, she had supreme majesty. He couldn't help but want to worship her and listen to all her oracle. Mr. Xia, a mysterious smile appeared on Jacqueline Eva's lips. Charlotte's reaction seemed to be within her expectations. Charlotte heard her voice, but his brain reacted very slowly. Mr. Xia, can you tell me why you want to go to the Louvre? Jacqueline Eva's voice became more ethereal, and the taste of God became stronger. Obviously, this Marie's Desire was mixed with hallucinogenic drugs, and it even had a hypnotic effect. Charlotte thought of this, but he still couldn't control the impulse to confess everything to the goddess. Tell me, what did the Germans pay to get the technology they wanted from you? Jacqueline Eva didn't even bother to tell Mr. Xia. Just when Charlotte opened his mouth to tell the truth, his brain suddenly released the mysterious energy that could resonate with the ancient alloy energy field. A cool feeling quickly flowed from his brain to his whole body. In the blink of an eye, his brain was no longer dizzy, and the burning desire in his lower abdomen also disappeared. Say it, don't resist, tell me everything, Jacqueline Eva urged. The fox finally showed its tail. She really hypnotized him with the help of drugs, trying to dig out the information she wanted from him. Charlotte had woken up, but he continued to pretend to be in a daze. His voice was also slow. I don't know. Ling Hao is in charge of this matter, and he knows the truth. Ling Hao? Who is he? An official, a very high-ranking official. Why do you want to go to the Louvre? I want to buy the Mona Lisa and the bronze rat head and other relics that France took from the Summer Palace. Jacqueline Eva. Charlotte sneered in his heart and said to himself, You want to use drugs and women to get information? You are not from the French Department of Weapons and Equipment. You are probably from the French Intelligence Department. You are not qualified to play this game with me. Who is your wife? Shinatianin. We are divorced. Who is your girlfriend? Liang Xiao, but we have broken up. Are you willing to cooperate with France? Sell your technology to France. Yes, I like France. What do you want from France? The avionics system of the Charles de Gaulle aircraft carrier, Charlotte said. Jacqueline Eva was stunned for a moment. You really have a big appetite. This sentence was obviously not a question from the goddess. It was just the self-talk of a woman who was stimulated. Charlotte guessed Jacqueline Eva's next question in his heart, but Jacqueline Eva did not ask him any new questions. She looked at the watch on her wrist, frowned, and then said, "Mr. Xia, you are tired. You should take a rest. I will call you when we arrive." "So sleepy, Yun?" Charlotte obediently closed his eyes. He really closed his eyes, but for him, closing his eyes was the same as keeping them open. He could see Jacqueline and Eva's every move. Just now, Jacqueline Eva's way of asking questions was very skillful, mixing important questions with some boring ones. She used this way to test and judge whether his answer was true or not. And his answer was also very skillful, half true and half false, so that she could make the opposite judgment. At this time, he was almost sure of Jacqueline Eva's identity. She was most likely from the French intelligence department. Although he did not know her specific position in the French intelligence department, he was sure that her position in the French intelligence department was certainly not low. A few minutes later, Jacqueline Eva glanced at Charlotte, reached out, and shook her hand on Charlotte's eyelids. After making sure that Charlotte did not respond, she lowered her head and whispered to a button on her neckline, "He is willing to cooperate, but his appetite is a bit big. Wait until I come back. It is not convenient for me now." "Well, I know. He is not as powerful as the rumors say. I can handle him." The button on her neckline was obviously a miniature communication device. Charlotte secretly said in his heart, "Handle me? Then come on. I want to see how powerful the French agents are." Jacqueline Eva glanced at Charlotte, then turned on the air conditioner. The cold wind blew out, and the smell of perfume in the car slowly weakened and finally disappeared. The Mercedes-Benz car slowly accelerated, and after more than 10 minutes, the outline of the front windshield of the Louvre appeared. The ancient royal palace and the beautiful glass pyramid in front of the palace. It shone brightly under the night sky, looking incomparably magnificent. "Mona Lisa, I am coming," Charlotte said in his heart. "Mr. Xia?" Jacqueline Eva called softly. Charlotte did not respond. Jacqueline Eva reached out and shook Charlotte's shoulder, then called again. "Mr. Xia, we are almost there." Charlotte slowly opened his eyes. He was stunned for a moment and said in surprise, "How did I fall asleep?" Jacqueline Eva said with a smile, "Mr. Xia, you are probably jet-lagged. I was talking with you just now, and you fell asleep while talking. You were really tired." "What do we talk about?" Charlotte asked warily. Jacqueline Eva said, "Perfume, Marie's desire. You like the smell of my perfume. Don't worry, I will give you a bottle of Marie's desire. It will help you get the girl you like." Charlotte was stunned for a moment, then said, "Can you give me 3 bottles?" Jacqueline Eva was speechless. Chapter 693. It was an honor to have the entire Louvre open to only one person. After entering the Louvre Palace, Xiaolei felt that life was like a dream in the majestic yet silent main hall. He couldn't help but think that if he didn't have his current achievements and was still a poor boy carrying bricks on a construction site, would the world-famous Louvre still be open to him? Would a French woman like Jacqueline Eva fawn over him everywhere? The answer was absolutely no. The world had always been realistic, and there would never be such a thing as a pie falling from the sky. Built in 1204, the Louvre was originally the royal palace of France, where 50 French kings and queens lived. It is one of the most precious buildings of the French Renaissance, famous for its rich collection of classical paintings and sculptures. The Louvre has the statue of Venus, the oil painting of Mona Lisa, and the stone sculpture of the goddess of victory, which are known as the world's 3 treasures. It has more than 400,000 art collections, including sculptures, paintings, arts and crafts, in 6 categories: ancient Oriental, ancient Egyptian, and ancient Greek and Roman. Jacqueline Eva acted as Charlotte's tour guide and spoke quickly. Xiaolei had already read all this on Baidu Encyclopedia, but he still pretended to be interested. "I've admired the Mona Lisa for a long time. May I know where it is?" "Mr. Xia, before I take you to see the Mona Lisa, can you tell me why you're so interested in it?" Jacqueline Eva looked at Charlotte with a special look in her eyes. It It wasn't the first time she had asked this question. She had asked it once in the car. She was still testing him. Charlotte smiled. Don't laugh when I tell you. Why would I? Okay, I'll tell you. I want to buy the Mona Lisa. Are you willing to sell it? You're really? Jacqueline Eva couldn't continue. To the Louvre, the Mona Lisa was the treasure of all treasures. It was priceless, and even in France, it was a symbolic art treasure. The insurance market valued the Mona Lisa at £5 billion, but would the French government sell it if someone offered one? £5 billion? Obviously not. Its value could no longer be measured by money. Charlotte shrugged. Forget it. Pretend I didn't say anything. Take me there. I can't wait to see it. All right, please follow me. It's in the exhibition hall on the second floor. Jacqueline Eva led Charlotte to the staircase. The old staircase was a little steep. Jacqueline Eva took the first 2 steps. When Charlotte followed her, he happened to be right under her, but with the top and bottom position, he could almost see her perky buttocks without bending down, as well as the rose-colored mesh. A strange question popped up in his head. Was good ventilation really that important? Jacqueline glanced back at Charlotte, and a faint smile appeared on her lips. She obviously knew where Charlotte was looking at her, but she didn't show a trace of disgust. She just glanced at Charlotte and turned back. As she walked, she said, Mr. Xia, are you really the vice president of the China Academy of Sciences? Yes, I was just an academician before, but they recently promoted me. Charlotte said casually, but it's just a title. I don't care. It's not a title. With your achievements, you are completely worthy of that position. If you come to France, we will give you a higher honor. Charlotte smiled. Are you lobbying me to immigrate to France? France is worthy of your talent. French women are the most romantic women in the world. I bet that if you become a Frenchman, you will definitely become the love object of all the girls in the world. Paris will be more romantic because of you, don't you think? I am a China, and I can only be a China in this life. No matter how good France is, it is not my hometown. What a pity. As they chatted, Jacqueline Eva led Charlotte to an exhibition hall in the middle of the second floor. Charlotte saw the Mona Lisa embedded in the middle of the wall at a glance. At that moment, he seemed to be attracted by a magical force and couldn't help but walk over. The woman in the painting had a smile on her face, looking dignified and beautiful. The University of Amsterdam in the Netherlands had once used emotion software to analyze her smile. Her smile contained 83% happiness, 9% disgust, 6% fear, and 2% anger. Some people had also discovered through research that there was a lion, a monkey, a buffalo, and a crocodile hidden on her shoulder. Some people even said that she had just experienced an orgasm, which was why she smiled so sweetly. These things that he saw on the internet surged in his mind. Charlotte couldn't help but think of China's dream of the Red Chamber. Some radiologists had studied Dream of the Red Chamber very thoroughly. They knew how many toilets there were in Grandview Garden and where they were located. They even knew when Wang Baochuan had his period. But what was the point of all this? Mr. Xia, this is the Mona Lisa, Leonardo da Vinci's masterpiece, a national treasure of France. Jacqueline Eva introduced it to Charlotte. However, Charlotte knew that Leonardo da Vinci was Italian, and this painting was also Italian. It wasn't just the Mona Lisa. Most of the hundreds of thousands of items in the Louvre were looted by France from all over the world. Many of them were cultural relics from China. This was actually a selfie of the values of Western society. To describe it in one sentence, I could do anything I want, but others can't. However, Charlotte didn't want to refute Jacqueline Eva's words. It didn't matter to him whether the Mona Lisa was Italian or French. All he cared about was the secret hidden within the Mona Lisa. His gaze fell on the woman's eyes in the painting. He awakened the microvision ability of his left eye. The woman's eyes were suddenly magnified, and all the details were clearly presented. His brain entered an extraordinary state at the same time. Everything he saw with his left eye emerged in his brain and then reconstructed in a different way. There were letters hidden in the woman's eyes, but they weren't L and D, which were the abbreviations of Leonardo da Vinci's full name, Leonardo Di Piero da Vinci. They were A and E. He was very sure of it, even though the two letters still looked like C and B. His conclusion wasn't based on speculation or ambiguous judgments, but on solid evidence. This painting was hundreds of years old, and air, light, and human factors had all caused damage to it. Even the pigments used by Leonardo da Vinci when he painted had a lifespan. The pigments in this painting were obviously in their twilight years, and many of the changes were acquired. They were like wrinkles on an old man's face, which obviously didn't have wrinkles when it was young. Modern scientific instruments couldn't distinguish which changes were there at the time or later, but his eyes and brain could distinguish them. After the acquired changes were stripped from his brain, what he got was the original work from hundreds of years ago. That is to say, whatever Leonardo da Vinci painted, it appeared in his brain. In his brain, the letters hidden in the eyes of the woman in the painting were indeed A and E. Why did Leonardo da Vinci draw these two letters in the woman's eyes? If the appearance of the Mona Lisa was simply related to AE, it might be a coincidence. But Charlotte knew that Leonardo da Vinci also painted a painting related to AE and ancient alloy. That was the painting of the female pirate in Mark Amin's house. Although there was no AE in the painting, there was a piece of ancient alloy in Princess Yongmei's face. Now, looking at the Mona Lisa, Charlotte's heart had confirmed that Leonardo da Vinci was related to the ancient alloy in the secret of AE, and he left the letters AE in the eyes of the woman in the painting. It was obvious that it was a hint. Leonardo da Vinci was known as the smartest person in the world. He had extraordinary achievements in the field of art, architecture, and scientific research. He was almost an all-rounder. Could it be that he also took the AE capsule? The road I'm walking now, is it the same road he walked before? Charlotte's mind came up with such a question. The thought startled him as well. Leonardo da Vinci's life was full of legends. He also achieved achievements that the whole world paid attention to. If he was just an ordinary person with an average IQ, no matter how hard he worked, he wouldn't be able to reach that level. Charlotte thought of himself. If it wasn't for the AE capsule, he wouldn't be able to achieve what he had today in his life. If it wasn't for the AE capsule, he would probably still be carrying bricks on construction sites, welding, and living like a dog in the lowest level of society. If Leonardo da Vinci also took the AE capsule, I assume he also tried to crack the secret of E and ancient alloy. Then what level did he reach? What kind of clues would he leave for me? Where would he leave the clues? Charlotte's mind was very active. Jacqueline Eva moved closer to Charlotte. Mr. Xia, to put it bluntly, it's actually just a painting. Many people praise it, but I think it's just an oil painting. Charlotte smiled. You're really afraid that I'll buy it. Don't worry, it's worth £5 billion. That's almost all my assets. I won't use all my money to buy an oil painting. Even if I want it, I'll add it to our deal. That's the smartest thing to do, don't you think? Jacqueline Eva looked at Charlotte, stunned. If Charlotte really added the Mona Lisa to the deal, it would really be a problem for the French government. Xiaolei's gaze returned to the oil painting. There was a very important clue in my oil painting that could help him decipher the secret of the ancient alloy and AE. He really wanted to ask the French government for this oil painting, and he believed that the French government would make the right choice between an oil painting and the most advanced military technology. Jacqueline Eva didn't say anything. She stood beside Charlotte and quietly looked at the Mona Lisa under the light. She didn't know why, but she began to worry that this would be the last time she would see it. Charlotte's left eye twitched slightly, and he entered X-ray mode. The paint on the oil painting disappeared layer by layer, and a world of colors appeared in Charlotte's brain. Purple, black, red, white, orange. Chapter 694. The exhibition hall was silent. However, Xiaolei's brain was not quiet for even a second. It was like a high-speed engine, and the analysis and calculation in that instant were not something that ordinary people could imagine. It was incredible, but he felt very normal and natural. While he was searching for the answer, he could even enjoy the art of the Mona Lisa with a calm mind. Da Vinci's painting technique was amazing. He applied layer after layer of paint on the canvas, and each layer was different. The different layers of color mixed together, and under the influence of the light, it became a masterpiece. No matter how you looked at the woman in the painting, her smile was so sweet and charming. The last layer of paint disappeared, and Charlotte's vision reached the canvas. At that moment, Charlotte's eyes stopped. Charlotte's eyes lit up with excitement. There were pencil lines on the canvas. These lines formed mountains, rivers, and bridges. It was a map. Between the lines, there were some words written in Italian. They looked blurry and hard to decipher. Charlotte suppressed the excitement in his heart. He wrote down all the pencil lines on the canvas. This was the value of the Mona Lisa. The world only saw the foundation of Da Vinci's painting, the smile of the Mona Lisa. But this was the real reason why Da Vinci left this painting. For hundreds of years, no one had discovered this secret. Whether it was in the past or now, no one who had come into contact with this painting could remove the paint from the canvas and see the content left by the pencil on the canvas. But Da Vinci would not leave clues like this for no reason. His clues were only left for the people who could see them. The only one, Mr. Xia. It was Jacqueline Eva's voice. Charlotte's thoughts were interrupted, and his vision returned to normal. He looked calm on the surface, but his heart was like a stormy sea. He was not calm at all. He still did not know where the hidden map on the canvas corresponded to in the real world. The words were blurry, but he only needed a little time to restore everything and find the place indicated on the map. With a new clue, he was one step closer to solving the secret of E and the ancient alloy. Jacqueline Eva said again, "Mr. Xia, you're very focused. Do you have any unique opinions about it?" "My opinion? Is that important?" Charlotte said. Jacqueline Eva said, "I'd like to know your opinion. In my opinion, you're very similar to Da Vinci. Your opinion must be unique." She said this unintentionally. It was a metaphor, but Charlotte's heart was shaken. "Miss Eva, you said I'm very similar to Da Vinci? Why do you say that?" Da Vinci is known as the world's unique all-rounder. In addition to being a painter, he was also a sculptor, architect, musician, mathematician, engineer, inventor, anatomist, geologist, cartographer, botanist, and writer. He was good at astronomy, geography, literature, art, mathematics, physics, and many other subjects. His IQ was also recognized as the highest in the world. Xiaolei interrupted her. "I admit that he's the one and only all-rounder in this world, and I also admit that he's the most intelligent person in this world. But I don't know what he knows, so how can I be the same as him?" Jacqueline Eva said, "You've created the most advanced intelligent machine tool in the world. Every weapon you've designed has incredible performance and is undoubtedly the most outstanding of its kind. The feeling you give me is that you're decades ahead of us in terms of thinking and ability. The things you're creating now will need decades before we can create them." In that era, the impression Da Vinci gave people was the same. His thoughts and the things he researched were decades ahead of that era. That's why I said that you were somewhat similar to him. Charlotte was silent, and his heart was filled with complicated feelings. Jacqueline Eva's words made him believe in his previous guess, which was that Da Vinci might also have taken the AE capsule, not for anything else, but because he knew his own situation very well. Although he was not good at as many things as Da Vinci, as long as he was willing to learn and was willing to specialize, it would not be difficult for him to achieve Da Vinci's achievements in that era. He had already proved this point. He was not a mathematician, but he had solved the Riemann's hypothesis that had troubled the entire mathematics world for a century with just his mental arithmetic ability. He also had a new question in his mind. If Da Vinci had also taken the AE capsule, then where did he get it from? "Mr. Xiao, what are you thinking about?" Jacqueline Eva said tentatively, "Did my words upset you? If that's the case, I apologize first." Charlotte smiled and said, "I'm not that stingy. I think you're complimenting me, but it's a bit exaggerated." After a pause, he changed the topic and said, "You asked me what I think about this, so I'll tell you now. This painting is very beautiful, and it deserves the title of an art treasure. But as you said, it's just an oil painting. For a hungry person, It's worth less than a loaf of bread. Oh, that's what you think. Jacqueline Eva also smiled. It's really unique. So do you still want to buy it? Charlotte shook his head and said, No, it's just an oil painting. In my eyes, it's worth less than a beautiful woman. He had already seen what Da Vinci left for him, and this oil painting was just an oil painting to him. It made no difference whether the painting hung in his drawing room or in the gallery of the Louvre. Oh, Mr. Xia, you're really direct. Jacqueline Eva laughed and said, But this is France, the most romantic place in the world. Many French girls will like a man like you. But in her heart, she said, Pervert. According to the analysis of the intelligence, the result is also correct. You are a lecherous fellow, and women are your weakness. I'll magnify your weakness. Let's get out of here, then I'll go to other places. Charlotte said that he didn't want to stay in front of the Mona Lisa, but he couldn't just leave after seeing the Mona Lisa. That would arouse the suspicion of the French female agent. Mr. Xia, where else do you want to visit? Well, take me to see the cultural relics of the East, Charlotte said. Okay, please follow me. Jacqueline Eva took Charlotte out of the exhibition hall of the Mona Lisa. When they reached the door, Charlotte looked back and saw the background of the painting. His gaze fell on the background of the painting. It was the small town of Bobbio in Italy, the place where Leonardo da Vinci lived, his next destination. With Jacqueline Eva leading the way, Charlotte visited several more exhibition halls. An hour later, he left the Louvre. The glass pyramid quietly glowed under the night sky, and there were few pedestrians in the square. The military off-road vehicle parked on the side of the road, and 8 heavily armed special forces of the National Gendarmerie became a very eye-catching presence. Mr. Xia, it's still early, Jacqueline Eva said with a smile. How about I take you around, and then we find a place to have a drink? Charlotte really wanted to find an excuse to refuse, but his eyes suddenly moved to the direction of the intersection. In that direction, a few Chevrolet Suburban off-road vehicles were speeding over. He then moved his eyes to the opposite direction, where a few Chevrolet Suburban off-road vehicles were also speeding over. The Chevrolet Suburban off-road vehicles were the favorite vehicles of CIB field agents. With so many of them appearing at the same time, Charlotte already knew what was going on. His eyes moved away from the road and moved to a tall building in the distance. There were 2 people lying on the rooftop of the tall building, and he could clearly see their faces. One of them was Alessio, and the other was Bagu. They also had an XL 2500 sniper rifle in their hands. In another direction, on the same tall building, he saw Yelena and Amanda, as well as Marcus and Erdemo. The 6 members of the Zodiac team formed a triangular sniper circle, locking the entire square within their range. Charlotte didn't see Pu Taiyong, but as the person in charge of transportation, Pu Taiyong must be in a car at the moment, ready to rush into the battlefield and take him away. A sneer appeared at the corner of Charlotte's mouth. If the CIB wanted to catch him here, it would be very interesting, because the CIB would not only have to face him and his Zodiac team, but also Jacqueline Eva and the special forces of the French National Gendarmerie. Jacqueline Eva also noticed the cars rushing over from both sides. She suddenly became nervous. She grabbed Charlotte's hand and said anxiously, "Quick, get in the car." Erickson and the special forces of the French National Gendarmerie also reacted quickly. They used the cars as cover and divided into 2 groups. One group aimed their guns at the cars rushing over from the left, and the other group aimed at the cars rushing over from the right. The opponents ignored the French National Gendarmerie, and in the blink of an eye, they rushed over and surrounded the 3 French cars. At this time, Charlotte didn't even have time to get in the car. The car door opened, and more than 20 people in black suits holding Scar assault rifles produced by the Belgian company FN all pointed their muzzles at Charlotte and the French people. This gun was an assault rifle specially produced by the Belgian company FN for the U.S. Special Forces. It had superior performance and powerful firepower, and was once the most advanced assault rifle. But that was before the Gale assault rifle of the Thunder Horse military factory was invented. Now, the most advanced assault rifle in the world was the Gale assault rifle. If a battle were to break out, These two guns would definitely compete. A pair of black high heels peeked out from an open car door and landed gently on the ground, followed by a pair of long legs wrapped in nude stockings, a thin waist, soft breasts, and a beautiful oriental face. This face was Gu Qiuan's face, which had a kind of seductive beauty. Charlotte looked at Gu Qiuan, who got out of the car, without any expression on his face. In his eyes, this woman was like a cockroach. He killed her again and again, but she just wouldn't die. Gu Qiuan's eyes also moved to Charlotte's face. Their eyes met, and a beautiful smile appeared on her face. I really didn't expect it to be so easy. I can't believe it. It's true. Xiaolei, I can't see through you. What's wrong with you hiding in China like a turtle? Why did you come to France to show off? This is Europe, the backyard of the U.S. Charlotte didn't speak and just looked at her quietly. Jacqueline and Eva's faces were ugly, and their eyes were cold. CIB people, what are you doing here? Gu Qiuan said, this person is wanted by us, and we want to take him away. Please cooperate with us, and don't make trouble for yourself. After that, Gu Qiuan winked. A CIB field agent raised his gun and walked to Charlotte. He held a gun in one hand and removed a handcuff from his waist with the other. She really wanted to take him away from here. Chapter 695. Before the agent approached Charlotte, Jacqueline Eva suddenly said angrily, "Stop. If you take another step forward, I'll kill you immediately." Erickson aimed his gun at the CIB agent who was ready to arrest Xiaji. His gun was already off the safety, ready to shoot the target at any time. What do you want? Gu Qiuan frowned. Get out of here immediately. Jacqueline Eva's tone was very cold. Mr. Xia is a distinguished guest invited by France. We made a promise to him that no country or individual can arrest him in France. If he leaves France, we don't care what you do to him, but this is France. This is not a place where you CIB people can do whatever you want. Who is your superior? Gu Qiuan said coldly. Give me a phone number. I'll contact him immediately. Jacqueline Eva suddenly pointed the pistol in her hand at Gu Qiuan. This was her answer. You want to stop us with just these few people? Gu Qiuan continued to exert pressure on Jacqueline Eva. If you do anything, you'll die a horrible death. Leave him to me, go back, take a shower, and have a good sleep. You'll find that nothing happened the next day, and we'll explain everything to the French government. Jacqueline Eva glanced at Erickson, who didn't speak but nodded. Jacqueline's and Eva's expressions immediately relaxed. This was obviously a secret signal, and the message was also related to reinforcements. After all, this was Paris, France, the territory of the French. The CIB would never have an advantage in numbers here, and even if they did, it would only be temporary. Gu Qiuan gave another look, and this time, for CIB agents came out. She wouldn't give the French more time. Wait, Charlotte finally spoke. Gu Qiuan, do you really think you can take me away from here? Cut the crap. I'll talk to you when we get back. Gu Qiuan subconsciously touched her, but he didn't know why, but the scar on her itched again when she was facing Xiaolei. 4 CIB field agents surrounded Charlotte, but before they could get close to Charlotte, 4 agents from the French National Gendarmerie also went up to meet them. For special forces soldiers against 4 special agents. 4 assault rifles against 4 assault rifles. The muzzles of their guns were all pointed at each other, not giving way an inch. The atmosphere suddenly became tense. At this time, as long as someone lost his cool and fired a shot, or even showed the slightest intention to attack, the ground would be littered with corpses. Gu Qiuan, save it. If you could take me away from France, would I come to France? Charlotte was not nervous at all. In fact, as long as he made a gesture, Gu Qiuan's head would be blown apart by a bullet. However, he could not do so. If Gu Qiuan died here, the CIB would have a stronger reason to force the French government to hand him over. At that time, he would be in a very passive position, and the situation would become very dangerous. Of course, if things became out of control, Jacqueline and the National Gendarmerie couldn't protect him, and Gu Qiuan and the CIB insisted on taking him away. He would let his people shoot. Charlotte, I have to take you away today. It doesn't matter whether you're willing or not. At this point, Gu Qian suddenly ordered, "Take him away. Anyone who dares to stop us, shoot and kill." The CIB field agents followed and took more aggressive actions. Every Special Forces soldier from the French National Gendarmerie was pointed at by 2 or 3 guns, including Jacqueline and Eva. A CIB field agent pushed aside the Special Forces soldier in front of him and strode toward Charlotte. But at this moment, a piercing siren came from the direction of the intersection on the right. A military off-road vehicle opened the way, followed by several armored personnel carriers. On the roof of each armored personnel carrier stood a machine gunner. The reinforcements came just in time. The CIB field agents who were about to come up to arrest Charlotte suddenly stopped. Xiao Lei smiled. "Did you see that? The UA isn't omnipotent. Keep your head for now. I'll take it from you after I leave France." Gu Qian's face was frighteningly gloomy. The French Special Forces quickly got out of the car and surrounded the CIB agents without saying a word. They outnumbered the CIB by 3 times. The CIB, who had the advantage in numbers just a moment ago, became the underdog in the blink of an eye. No CIB agent dared to act rashly, let alone arrest Charlotte. "Put down your weapons." Erickson's voice was as sharp as a knife. "Or we'll shoot." The CIB field agents didn't move, but they were all very nervous. They looked at Gu Qian and waited for her instructions. Gu Qian was unwilling. Bang, bang, bang. Erickson fired 3 shots into the sky. Gu Qian's mouth trembled, but she finally gave the order. "Put your guns away." The CIB field agents were relieved and put away their guns quickly. Charlotte smiled. "Gu Qian, don't you understand? I don't know who sent you here to arrest me, but I know what he's planning. If you die in my hands, he'll have enough reason to ask the French government to hand me over. You're being used as cannon fodder, but you still have such a sense of superiority. I really have to give it to you. Are you done?" Gu Qian's voice was cold. Charlotte shrugged. "If I were you, I'd take care of my own business first instead of being used as cannon fodder. You're lucky you're still alive. Good luck won't always be with you." "Shut up," Gu Qian roared at Charlotte. She had enough of Charlotte's mockery. "Remember what I said. The next time we meet, I'll take your head." Charlotte walked to the Mercedes-Benz. Jacqueline Eva glanced at Gu Qian coldly. "Don't cause trouble. This is France. The CIB can't protect you." Gu Qian snorted coldly and didn't say anything. She watched as Jacqueline Eva left with Charlotte, as well as the French National Gendarmerie's Special Forces convoy. "Boss, what do we do?" a CIB field agent asked. "Retreat." Gu Qian turned to leave, but just as her back was facing her men, a cold smile appeared on her lips. "Sean, do you want me dead, or does Williams want me dead? No matter which one of you wants my life, I will take his life." At the same time, on the rooftop of the tall building opposite the Louvre. "Boss, what's going on?" Alessio shouted. "Last time in Korea, we took such a big risk to assassinate Gu Qian. This time, we can obviously kill her. Why didn't Boss let us do it? It's a pity to miss this opportunity." But Gu said, "Yeah, if we miss this opportunity, we don't know when we'll get another chance to kill that woman." At this time, Amanda's voice came from the communicator. "You 2 idiots, can't you see? This time, Gu Qian was sent by the CIB to die. If we kill Gu Qian, the U.S. will have an excuse to pressure the French government. At that time, Boss will bear the crime of assassinating a senior CIB official. How can he leave France?" As expected of the tactical planner of the Zodiac team, Amanda saw the truth. "Stop beeping. We have to catch up quickly." Pu Taiyong's voice came from the communicator. The members of the Zodiac team quickly retreated, coming and going without a trace. The crisis this time had come and gone as quickly as it came. In fact, Charlotte was not surprised at Gu Qian's appearance at all. He swaggered to France, and the U.S. could not take action. The CIB people would appear in front of him sooner or later, but he didn't expect them to be so impatient. He had just arrived in France, and Gu Qian had already come with the CIB people. The Mercedes-Benz car drove to the Star of Paris. "Mr. Xia, are you familiar with that woman from the CIB?" Jacqueline Eva broke the silence in the car. "Yes, very familiar indeed." Charlotte said. Her name is Gu Huan, the CIB's Asia director. I have some personal grudges with her, and she wants to kill me. The CIB's Asia director. This position is really not low. Jacqueline Eva glanced at Charlotte. But just now you said that she was sent to die. The CIB is willing to sacrifice such an important person. How much value do you have to them? Charlotte was silent for a moment, then smiled. I slept with the daughter of the U.S. president, and she didn't want it at the time. What? Jacqueline Eva was dumbfounded. Please keep this a secret for me. I'm only telling you because you helped me so much earlier, Xiaolei said with a serious look on his face. You're not kidding me, are you? Charlotte said lightly. Would I joke about this kind of thing? Well, I won't believe that's the reason. Jacqueline Eva said. I can understand that you don't want to tell me. It doesn't matter. I don't want to pry into your secrets. I just want to finish my job. Charlotte just smiled and said no more. Jacqueline Eva didn't say a word of truth, so how could he tell her the truth? However, even if Jacqueline Eva were to investigate, she wouldn't be able to find out why the Americans were so persistent in their pursuit. The motorcade stopped in front of the Star of Paris. Mr. Xia, in view of what happened before, you'd better not leave the hotel without permission. In addition, I will leave some people to protect you. Is that okay? When Charlotte got out of the car, Jacqueline Eva stuck her head out of the window and said to him, No problem. Charlotte agreed readily. I'll come to you tomorrow to talk about cooperation. Good night, Mr. Xia. Before Charlotte agreed, Jacqueline Eva started the car and left. Charlotte smiled bitterly. The reason why the French protected him so much was because of his skills. The sooner this goal was achieved, the better it would be for France. After all, he had now become a hot potato. Naturally, the sooner he was thrown out, the better. I'll do as you wish. Dream on. Charlotte turned around and entered the hotel. Erickson escorted Charlotte to the top floor with several special forces of the National Gendarmerie. This time, the number of special forces left in the hotel doubled to 24 people. Not only did they control the top floor of the hotel, but they also closely monitored the elevators and staircases, as well as the hotel lobby. Charlotte didn't bother with the special forces of the National Gendarmerie. He knocked on Qin Saiyue's door. Qin Kaiwei, who opened the door, was in a daze. She was wearing a set of pajamas with cartoon patterns on it. She looked very cute, but when she saw Charlotte standing at the door, she suddenly became energetic and couldn't help laughing. Chairman Xiaoyu, do you have a pencil? Charlotte said. A pencil? You came to me just to borrow a pencil? Do you have one? If not, I'll ask someone at the front desk to get me one. Yes, I'll go get it for you. Qin Kaiwei turned around and went into the room. Soon, she came back with a pencil and a notebook. Thank you. Charlotte understood and took the pencil and notebook from her hand. Qin Kaiwei hesitated for a moment, then made a gesture of flipping her hair and looked at Charlotte with watery eyes. Chairman Xia, are you really here to borrow a pencil? Yes, Charlotte said. Is there anything else? Qin Xiao's lilac tongue slipped out of the corner of her mouth and gently pursed the corner of her tender lips. Good night. Charlotte turned around and left. Qin Kaiwei was stunned at the door and didn't move for a long time. What kind of CEO would knock on the door of a female secretary to borrow a pencil in the middle of the night? Crazy. Chapter 696. In half an hour, Charlotte had copied all of the pencil content on the canvas of Mona Lisa. He could have been faster, but in his pursuit of perfection, he used more time to complete this task. The content he drew on the notebook was the 1:20 ratio of the original. Other than this, what he drew was exactly the same as what Da Vinci had drawn. The blurry Italian words were also copied down by him, and he began to decipher them. He was not very familiar with Italian, but this did not stop him. He made a plan for himself to use 5 hours to learn Italian on the computer. During this process, he used his brain's ability to make the blurred Italian text clear. Then, he used the Italian he learned to interpret the content that Da Vinci had left on the canvas. Time passed bit by bit. The hotel's desktop computer was working, and so was Charlotte's brain. Under normal circumstances, the human brain could not be compared to a computer, but he was an exception. His brain worked faster and more perfectly than a computer. The computer provided his brain with knowledge of Italian, and his brain was like a sponge, frantically absorbing the knowledge. It was also during this learning process that his brain repaired and perfected the Italian language on the canvas bit by bit according to the characteristics of it, obtaining clear and correct content. 5 hours passed. Charlotte's brain was filled with almost all of the Italian knowledge. The piece of paper in front of him also had an additional translation. The content of the translation was, "I am Leonardo da Vinci. Many incredible things have happened in my life. I have benefited from this, but I'm also very confused. I have been trying to decipher those secrets my whole life. I once thought I was close to the truth, but in the end, I realized it was far from enough." The fact that you can see the content on the canvas means that you also have that ability. Are you also trying to decipher those secrets? I left some things for you. If you can read my map, you will be able to find the things I left behind. This was the content of the text that Da Vinci had left on the canvas. After deciphering it, Charlotte's heart could not calm down for a long time. He used this method to leave the map clearly for people with X-ray vision to see. He understood this ability. Could it be that he really took the AE capsule? But Father once said that the AE capsule he stole from the AE Research Center was the only one in the world. So where did Da Vinci get the AE capsule from? He could not understand this question. If Da Vinci was still alive and had a chance to talk to him face to face, the problem would be simple. However, the problem was that Da Vinci had been dead for hundreds of years. Whether or not Da Vinci had eaten the AE capsule, and where did he get the AE capsule, these questions could not be answered. After sitting quietly for a while, Charlotte shifted his attention to the map. A map without text markings, and it was drawn with a pencil. One could imagine how difficult it would be to find the corresponding place on Earth. Da Vinci seemed to be using this method to test his intelligence. Charlotte closed his eyes, and the map on the canvas appeared in his mind. The light of dawn dispelled the darkness. Unknowingly, an entire night had passed. Charlotte opened his eyes. A ray of sunlight shone through the window and fell on his face. In the golden morning light, a smile bloomed on his face. Knock, knock, knock. There was a knock on the door, but Charlotte did not seem to hear it. The smile on his face became more and more obvious. This process was like the blooming of a flower bud, little by little, until it bloomed. The person who knocked on the door did not continue, but the door opened. Chin Kaiwa walked in, and her gaze fell on Charlotte. She was stunned for a moment, and then said in surprise, "Chairman Xia, you didn't sleep last night?" Hee. Charlotte laughed. "Chairman Xia, are you okay?" Chin Kaiwa asked with concern. Last night, Charlotte knocked on her door in the middle of the night to borrow a pencil. Now he was sitting by the window and laughing foolishly. She was really worried about her Chairman Xia's mental state. "So that's how it is," Charlotte said to himself. "What? So that's how it is?" Chin Kaiwa moved closer. "You're really too smart." Chairman Xia, are you talking about me?" Charlotte suddenly closed his eyes again. "Chairman Xia? What's wrong?" Chin Kaiwa came to Charlotte's side. She hesitated for a moment, and then stretched out her hand to touch Charlotte's forehead. Charlotte's forehead was not hot, and there were no symptoms of fever. He closed his eyes, and Chin Kaiwa's hand on his forehead did not affect the work of his brain. In his brain, the map left by Da Vinci on the canvas was disassembled, turning into line segments of different lengths and shapes. Some of these line segments were like earthworms, some were like twisted wire, and some were like iron rods. They were constantly combining to form a new pattern. This process was very complicated, but it was very fast. One by one, the wrong patterns were eliminated, and a correct pattern was established from a large number of errors, finally taking shape. A new map appeared in Charlotte's brain. At the top of the map was a tomb. There was no name on the tombstone, only a cross. Under the tomb, there was a very complicated underground passage, and it was like a maze. The end was in the center of the maze, and the entrance was under the tombstone. In one night, all the secrets left by Da Vinci on the canvas were solved. In one night, Charlotte even mastered Italian. His brain was really a miraculous existence. Chairman Xia? Qing Sayue's hand left Charlotte's forehead and moved to his cheek. She did not know where she got the courage, but when she saw Charlotte's handsome face bathed in the morning light, she seemed to be attracted by magic and wanted to touch it. His face was smooth and delicate, like a baby's skin, and it was very comfortable to touch. Such a tender face, what kind of skincare product does he use? Such a strange question suddenly popped up in Qing Sayue's mind. At this moment, Charlotte suddenly opened his eyes. Qing Kaiwe hurriedly pulled her hand back, and her jade face suddenly blushed. She stuttered, "Sorry, Chairman Xia, I thought you were having a fever." Charlotte said, "You didn't tell me where it was, but you already showed me the answer. That place is Bobbio in Italy, the setting of the Mona Lisa. Peaceful also drew that place, the medieval town, the house, the tombstone. I found it. Chairman Xia?" Qing Kaiwe felt strangely nervous. She felt that Charlotte was not having a fever, but he was crazy. Charlotte suddenly stood up, picked up Qing Kaiwe, and spun on the ground. Qing Sayue's body leaned back, and the pair of long legs under her short skirt floated in the air like a compass, drawing a white arc in the air. From a 45-degree angle, the black Shao Ding became a beautiful scenery. It played the role of a guardian with difficulty, fighting against the air, fighting against inertia, guarding that mysterious and mature place. The skirt was flying, and so was the secretary's heart. Everything was messed up in the wind, just like the black Shao Ding that had been messed up for a long time. Chairman Xia, what are you doing? I'm dizzy, you put me down? Qing Kaiwe suddenly gritted her teeth and gathered her courage. If you really want, go to the bed. Charlotte suddenly stopped. Qing Sayue's feet finally landed on the ground, but she was still in Charlotte's arms. She could feel Charlotte's hands holding her waist, and she could also feel Charlotte's strong chest, because her soft breasts were pressed against his chest like double-sided glue sticking together, flattening the shape. The two of them were like a still painting. 4 pairs of eyes looked at each other, like the N and S poles of a magnet. Under its effect, the two faces slowly approached each other, and the distance between the two lips was quietly shortening. He's going to kiss me. Qing Sayue's heart was so excited that she closed her eyes nervously. To be able to flirt with a man like Charlotte, even if she couldn't get anything, she wouldn't regret it. However, just as the two lips were about to stick together, Charlotte suddenly woke up and hurriedly let go of Qing Kaiwe in his arms. The magnet suddenly turned into a stone. Ahem. Charlotte coughed. Sorry, I was too excited just now. Qing Sayue's heart was suddenly filled with a sense of loss, but she forced a smile on her face. No, it's nothing. What's the matter? I came to get my pencil. Qing Kaiwe didn't know what to say, and her heart was in a mess. Charlotte smiled, and he gave the pencil to Qing Kaiwe. Thank you. Holding the pencil, Qing Kaiwe felt like there were 10,000 horses galloping wildly in her heart. This pencil had almost become her demon. Let's go have breakfast, and then go to the Villepinte Exhibition Center to take a look, Charlotte said. Didn't you say you weren't going? I changed my mind. Let's go. Qing Sayue's gaze moved to the notebook on the computer table. She saw a paragraph of Italian, a Chinese translation, and some lines that she couldn't understand. She curiously asked, Chairman Xia, what are you studying again? Charlotte tore off the paper with the content on the notebook, put it in his trouser pocket, and then said, This is a secret. Don't tell anyone. Qing Kaiwe pursed her lips and smiled. Well, I know I won't tell anyone. Even if I wanna, I can't do anything about it. I can't understand it at all. Charlotte didn't explain anymore, and he left the room with Qing Kaiwe. Yelena also walked out of her room. Good morning, Miss Yelena. Qing Kaiwe greeted obediently. Yelena just nodded slightly. Charlotte said, After breakfast, let's go to the Villepinte Exhibition Center. Okay. Yelena only said one word. Charlotte moved closer to Yelena and whispered, Let Alessio get ready. I'm going to Italy. So soon? What do we do here? Do as I say, Charlotte said. Yelena nodded again. The International Army Weapons Exhibition at the Villepin Exhibition Center would start in 10 days, and the only thing they could do now was to decorate the exhibition area. This kind of thing could be left to Qin Kai-wei, but the trip to Italy was imminent, and he didn't want to wait any longer. There was an advantage to going to Italy now, and that was that everyone still thought he was in France. He wanted to catch them off guard. Now, the only trouble was Jacqueline Eva and the French National Gendarmerie. How to get rid of the surveillance of these French people was the problem he needed to solve. Chapter 697. The International Army Arms Exhibition in Paris had yet to start, but the Villepin Exhibition Center was already heating up. Thousands of arms manufacturers from all over the world had already started designing and decorating their respective exhibition areas. The relevant weapons were also being transported to their respective exhibition areas, waiting for the exhibition to start. There were many acquaintances among these arms manufacturers, such as Belgium's FN Corporation, America's Bayer Corporation, Germany's Rheinmetall, HK Corporation, and so on. These companies were all leaders in the international military industry. Each one was bigger than the last, and each one was more powerful than the last. Compared to these companies, Rema Group was like a weak teenager. This could be seen from the scale of the exhibition area. The exhibition areas of these few big companies were dozens of times larger than Rema Group's. There were also many types of weapons on display, such as tanks, armored vehicles, demoning vehicles, self-propelled artillery, rocket launchers, pistols, submachine guns, assault rifles, sniper rifles, grenade launchers, and so on. There were hundreds and thousands of them, so many that it was dazzling. Meanwhile, Rema Group only had 4 types of weapons on display, which were the XL 2500 sniper rifle, Gale assault rifle, Hellhound artillery, and the new handgun produced by Rema Group, Viper. There were only 4 types of weapons on display, but their opponents had hundreds and thousands of weapons. It was hard not to look shabby. Charlotte led Rema Group's employees around a few exhibition areas, and the few Rema Group's employees all had grave expressions on their faces. This was not surprising, as each of their opponents' exhibitions was bigger than the last, and they were under a lot of pressure. If only this Army Arms exhibition had started a few months later. At that time, our company's tanks, combat vehicles, and defense systems would have been able to be exhibited. Now, Qin Kaiwa wanted to say something, but stopped. She was afraid that if she said something, it would make Charlotte unhappy. Charlotte, on the other hand, was in a good mood. He smiled and said, "Isn't this good?" Qin Kaiwa said softly, "What's good about it? Other people's exhibition areas are rich and varied, and there are many highlights, but we only have 4 types of weapons on display, and they are all light weapons. Merchants who don't know better will think that we are a small workshop." Doing business was all about the scene. The more high-end the product, the more beautiful the store would be. If the scene was small, no matter how good the quality was, it would still be questioned. Buyers would think that your products were low-end goods and wouldn't even be interested in taking a second look. Why would they come into contact with your products or even buy them? Although selling weapons was different from selling clothes and cosmetics, the marketing methods were the same. Qin Kai-wei was an expert in this field, so of course she would have such worries. Charlotte, on the other hand, still had a calm expression on his face. Let me put it this way. They sell glass beads, we sell diamonds. Even if they dyed the glass beads in all sorts of colors, do we need to dye diamonds in all sorts of colors? Chairman Xia, your analogy is really interesting. Qin Kai-wei smiled. Charlotte said, "We've long passed the period where we need to advertise in order to open up sales. Our weapons have already been tested on the battlefield. I don't need to say more about how outstanding they are. In short, even if we put our weapons on sale in the market, the people who come to place orders will trample on the doorstep and break it." Qin Kai-wei clapped her hands. "Well said, Chairman Xia. Let's applaud." A few of the employees of the Thunder Horse Army Factory really clapped their hands. This flattery made Charlotte feel quite awkward. However, just based on her vixen-like face and peach-like, but even if her flattery was not in place, he still felt that it was useful. The group of people chatted and laughed as they arrived at the Rema Group's exhibition area. When they saw the exhibition area, they were all stunned. This was not because the organizers were making things difficult for the Rema group by giving them a remote and small exhibition area. On the contrary, they had given them a very large exhibition area, so large that it was enough to fit a few Boeing 747 airliners. The location of the exhibition area was also very good, together with several top arms companies. Such a large exhibition area with 4 kinds of light weapons. Just thinking about it made one feel awkward. Did they make a mistake? Qing Sayue's expression was very exaggerated. They gave us such a big one. Did they think we were going to have an arms party? Charlotte also felt strange. If it was a small exhibition area, then it would be fine with some decorations. But such a large exhibition area, how would they decorate it? Chairman Xia, why don't we ask them to change it to a smaller one? This place is really too big. We don't even know how to decorate it, an employee of the Rema group said. Let me think about it. Charlotte walked into the exhibition area. The group of people followed Charlotte into the exhibition area. What can Chairman Xia think of? An employee said in a low voice. Who knows? No one can guess Chairman Xia's thoughts. Chairman Xia is such a smart person, he will definitely think of a way. Even if Chairman Xia is such a smart person, he won't be able to think of a way, right? There was a lot of discussion. Qing Kaiwei did not say anything, but she was also very curious about how Charlotte would solve this embarrassing problem in front of her. She followed behind Charlotte, but her eyes were fixed on Charlotte's butt. Charlotte's butt was perky, very sturdy, and had a man's sexiness. She could not help but think of what happened this morning. He came down and hugged her and spun around on the ground, round after round. A certain part of Charlotte's body was pressed against her sensitive area, acting as a fulcrum. The two of them were like a merry-go-round, spinning and spinning. She wanted to grease the bearings of the merry-go-round. That way, it would spin more smoothly, more comfortably, and more briskly. Charlotte did not know that he had already become a part of the merry-go-round. He walked in the empty exhibition hall, looking around and pondering. His brain was conceptualizing and designing according to the situation in the exhibition hall. Various materials appeared in his mind one after another, and each material was used to create the best decoration plan. After walking one round in the empty exhibition area, Charlotte stopped in his tracks. He waved to Qing Kaiwei. Kaiwei, come here for a moment. Qing Kaiwei followed him and walked over with a smile on her face. Chairman Xia, you've thought of a way so quickly. Charlotte said, go find a decoration company and ask them to make a booth for us using glass. Let them turn the extra space into a glass passage, and then hang pictures of anti-war, peace, and life. Make it an artistic wall. When Qing Kaiwei heard this, her eyes lit up. She giggled and said, Chairman Xia, you're so awesome. Why didn't I think of that? In this way, all the space in the exhibition area can be used. The glass booth, together with the lighting effects, creates a sci-fi effect. Using glass as an artistic wall to promote the concept of anti-war, peace-loving, and life will make our company's image taller and more positive. Charlotte smiled and said, you're really good at talking. I hope the effect is as good as you say. Qing Kaiwei smiled, even sweeter. Do you think my mouth is that small? But I will definitely satisfy you, Chairman Xia. What did she mean by that? She was really a fox spirit. This little seduction method was too clever. It didn't leave a trace, but it could make people's hearts itch. Charlotte smiled awkwardly. Qing Kaiwei giggled. At this time, another group of people came into the exhibition hall, including several familiar faces. Rheinmetall's chairman, Mark Amin, FN's senior director, Mulef, Belgium's HK's senior executive, Ilriva, and Barrett's Jobington. These people had met at the Russian arms exhibition and fought with each other, so he recognized them at a glance. There were also some people he didn't know, but since they could walk with people like Mark Amin, they were obviously not small characters. Most of them were executives or even people in charge of European and American arms companies. What are these guys doing here? Charlotte couldn't help but guess. Mr. Xia, we meet again. Mark Amin greeted him warmly. Charlotte greeted him and said in fluent German, Mr. Mark Amin, long time no see. It's a pleasure to see you here. But what can I do for you? We know that Rima Group was also invited to participate in this army weapons exhibition. So we came here to have a look, Mark Amin said. Charlotte spread out his hands. You're a little early. Look, we haven't even set up the exhibition hall yet. A large group of people came. In fact, only Mark Amin and Charlotte greeted and talked, and the rest of the people just looked on coldly. The scene was a little strange. After chatting for a while, Mark Amin said, Mr. Xia, I don't know when you have time. I want to talk to you. Charlotte said, What do you want to talk to me about? You must have forgotten, right? Mark Amin said, My family's ancestral oil painting. Last time I invited you to my house as a guest, but you destroyed it with one punch. Mr. Mark Amin, do you want me to compensate you? Charlotte frowned suddenly. Mark Amin actually had the face to mention this matter. Last time in Germany, if it weren't for his good luck, he would have fallen into the hands of the CIA. Mark Amin suddenly laughed. Mr. Xia, it's just a joke. Now that Rima Group and Rainmetal have become brother companies, how can I destroy the relationship between us for a mere oil painting? Rainmetal's Thunder Dragon Intelligent Machine tool is the core part you want to process, and Germany has been coveting Charlotte's Thunder Dragon Intelligent Machine tool, second generation. In this case, as the chairman of Rainmetal, how dare Mark Amin offend? How dare he offend Charlotte? More importantly, even if he asked for compensation, would Charlotte give it to him? Charlotte said faintly, Mr. Mark Amin, you are really humorous. Since you mentioned the existence of the painting, you should know what happened yesterday. I'm a forgetful person, and some things are better forgotten, don't you think? Yes, Mr. Xia is right. It's just a painting. Take it as a gift from me to Mr. Xia. Mark Amin's purpose seemed to be to remind Charlotte that he owed him a painting. Mr. Xia, your exhibition area is so large. You must have a lot of things on display, right? Barrett Company's executive, Cho Barton, finally spoke. Is there a problem? Charlotte looked at Cho Barton. Cho Barton said, As far as I know, Rima Group only has 3 products. The XL 2500 sniper rifle, the Gale assault rifle, and the Hellhound artillery. You won't display 3 light weapons in such a large exhibition hall, will you? It's not 3 light weapons, it's actually 4. The Thunderhorse military factory also has a pistol, but it's not well known at all. Ilriva, an executive of the HK company, said with a hint of sarcasm in her voice. Some people couldn't help but laugh. China's military industry has always been despised by the outside world. Although the Thunderhorse military factory was a dark horse in the shutdown industry, it was actually unrealistic to change the prejudice and discrimination of the Western world against China's military industry with just a few light weapons of the Thunderhorse military group. Charlotte could see that this group of people came to see a joke. Chapter 698. Although the Thunderhorse Arms factory was still small and young, its appearance had already threatened the military industry in Europe and the United States. The American Barrett Company, the Belgian HK Company, and even the German Rainmetal and German FN, which were brothers with Rima Group, all saw Rima Group as their most threatening competitor. Therefore, whether it was in the past, present, or future, they would not be Charlotte's friends, but only opponents, enemies. Now that an opportunity to attack the enemy was in front of them, how could they miss it? Since when did people like you have the right to criticize our Thunderhorse group? Before Charlotte could speak, Qin Kaiwe said, Our Rima Group has our own tanks, artillery, and defense systems, but we just haven't shipped them over. Is that so? Cho Barton sneered. Did you not ship them over, or did you not build them? China's strength is not in manufacturing, but in mouth, isn't it? It's your mouth that's more powerful, isn't it? Qin Sayue's mouth was sharp. I know that the Russian weapons exhibition, the Barrett Company sniper rifle, was completely defeated by our Rima Group's XL 2500 sniper rifle. Both of you produce sniper rifles, but why is there such a big difference? The guns you make are a lot worse than ours, but your tone is very big. I just don't understand, sir. Where did you get the confidence to laugh at our Rima Group? Schubarton's tongue suddenly hardened, and he was unable to speak. This little mouth was amazing. Charlotte couldn't help but want to give her a like. If it was him, he wouldn't be this bad. Don't bicker with women at any time, because they are born to be good at it. Hee hee. Mark Amin laughed dryly. Why do you have to make things unpleasant? We are all in the same industry, and we should work together, not oppose each other. Mr. Xia, who is this woman? We came to talk to you, but you let a woman talk nonsense. Is this a gentleman's behavior? Ilriva said. Qin Kaiwe was about to return the compliment, but Charlotte said, do you think her level is not enough? Let me tell you, she is the marketing director of my Rema group and also my chief secretary. Her rank is higher than yours, right? I don't know what you want to talk about, and I'm not interested. If you really want to talk to me, it should be the boss of your HK company, not you. You. Ilriva was also speechless. And you. Charlotte looked at Jobington. Are you the CEO of Barrett Company? If not, then go back to what you're supposed to be doing. If I want to talk, I'll only talk to the CEO of Barrett Company. Chobarton's face was already unrecognizable. He had been insulted. That was true. Whether it was Chobarton or Ilriva, the two of them were only executives of the HK Company and Barrett Company. They weren't the bosses of these two companies. Although the Rema Group was small, Charlotte was the boss of the Rema Group. Their status was much lower than Charlotte's. What right did they have to say anything in front of Charlotte? Qin Kaiwe smiled quietly, because she knew that Charlotte was supporting her and giving her face. At this time, a few more people came into the exhibition hall. This time, it wasn't someone from a certain arms company, but Jacqueline Eva. Behind her were several heavily armed special forces of the military police. Mr. Xia, are you satisfied with this place? Jacqueline Eva greeted Charlotte from afar. Charlotte was too lazy to pay attention to Chobarton and the others. He greeted them and said, I'm very satisfied. Since the main character had left, there was no need for Chobarton and the others to stay. A few of them left angrily. Mullef of FN Company was secretly glad that he didn't provoke Charlotte and the sharp-tongued woman beside him. Otherwise, his stomach would be full of anger at this moment. When they left, Mark Amin seemed to want to say something more to Charlotte, but because of the resentment of many people around him, he finally gave up the idea. Qin Kaiwe watched Chobarton and the others leave, but in her heart, she recalled the scene of Charlotte supporting her just now, and the smile on her face became more obvious. Miss Qing, your mouth is really amazing. Behind her, an employee of the Rema Group flattered Qin Kaiwe. Qin Kaiwe turned around and glared at him. The flattering employee immediately shut his mouth. He was also praising her mouth, but the result was completely different. Not far away, Jacqueline Eva and Charlotte were talking, and the atmosphere of the conversation was very pleasant. Mr. Xia, if you need any help, please don't hesitate to ask. We will definitely solve your problem for you. Jacqueline Eva said, Thank you, but there's nothing we need help with. We can handle it ourselves. Charlotte said, You don't have to be polite with me. Jacqueline Eva smiled. Are you free? What's the matter? Charlotte had already guessed Jacqueline Eva's purpose. The French government had always wanted to cooperate with him and was eager to get rid of him, a hot potato. So for the French government, the earlier the negotiation, the better. Sure enough, Jacqueline Eva said, We want to talk about cooperation with you. If possible, I want to take you to the weapons and equipment department. They are ready. Charlotte thought for a moment. How about tomorrow? Even if we have to talk, I have to prepare. In addition, as you can see, such a large exhibition hall needs to be decorated, and I have to arrange for my people to work. Okay, tomorrow it is. Jacqueline Eva didn't expect Charlotte to go with her to the French weapons and equipment department right now. For the French government, reaching a deal with Charlotte before the Army weapons exhibition was acceptable. Excluding today, there were still 8 days, which was still plenty of time. Well, if there's nothing else, then I'll go arrange work first. Charlotte said, All right. Jacqueline Eva moved closer to Charlotte's ear and whispered, Didn't you ask me for that perfume last night? Mary's Desire? I know you still remember its name. I've already prepared it for you. Come to my house tonight. To your house? If you agree, I'll drive to the hotel to pick you up at 5 in the afternoon, and we can have dinner together. Jacqueline Eva raised the corner of her mouth. Mr. Xia, I'm a woman. Don't make it difficult for me. Charlotte smiled. Well, I'll wait for you at the hotel at 5 in the afternoon. That's settled. Goodbye. Jacqueline Eva said goodbye, but suddenly kissed Charlotte on the cheek. Charlotte's body slightly stiffened, and the expression on his face was quite awkward. Kissing on the cheek was actually not a common etiquette in Western society. What was common was the cheek kiss. The nature of the cheek kiss and the cheek kiss were obviously different. Jacqueline Eva was gone. Qin Kai-wei came over. Chairman Xia. Who is that woman? Probably a staff member of the French government. I'm not very sure either. Charlotte said. His eyes were still on Jacqueline Eva's plump buttocks, but his mind was not thinking about the date with Jacqueline Eva tonight, but about how to go to Italy. Qin Kai-wei was obviously not satisfied with such an answer, but she did not ask anything else. Charlotte suddenly thought of something, and a smile appeared on his face. Kai-wei, I want to tell you something. Qin Kai-wei immediately perked up. What is it? Remember. Charlotte moved closer to her ear and whispered, no matter what happens, you don't have to care. No matter what you hear, you don't have to care. Just do the work I give you, decorate the exhibition hall, participate in the weapons exhibition, and negotiate with the merchants. Chairman Xiaoyu. Qin Kai-wei was nervous and confused. What made her nervous was the way Charlotte was talking to her. The hot air from his mouth rushed into her ear, which was a very sensitive place. That ticklish feeling made her flustered. What puzzled her was what Xia Lei said to her. She couldn't understand why he said that. You don't understand? Qin Kai-wei nodded. Then I'll give you an example. Charlotte's voice was soft. If you hear that I've been arrested or kidnapped, pretend not to hear it and do what you need to do. How can I do that? Qin Kai-wei said in surprise. If something like that happens to you, how can I not care? How can I not care? Then what are you going to do? I'll stop the exhibition. I'll go to the embassy to find our ambassador. I'll go to the French government to make a scene. I don't believe that they are unreasonable and lawless. Charlotte, I will really do that. Qin Kai-wei clearly misunderstood Charlotte and thought that she did not have the determination to do that. Charlotte suddenly put his lips on Qin Kai-wei's ear. Listen to me. No matter what you hear or what happens to me, don't care. Qin Kai-wei's face turned red and she shuddered for no reason. This matter is very important to me. Don't act on your own, got it? Qin Kai-wei nodded subconsciously. Also, don't tell anyone. Got it? Qin Kai-wei nodded again. Since Xia Lei had already put it this way, even if she had a pig's head on her neck, she should have understood what he meant. Charlotte left Qin Kai-wei, but his gaze stopped on her ear. Her ear was crystal clear and tender like snow. He had already verified this with his lips, but now a red mark appeared on that ear, and it quickly spread to her face and neck. Those red marks made her skin look even more delicate and beautiful. Chairman Xiaoyu. Qin Kai-wei bit her cherry lips and finally said, You're so bad. Charlotte pretended to be stunned and then said, Oh, you mean just now? Sorry, I was careless. Actually, he was not careless. He did it on purpose. Qin Kai-wei, this vixen, had been seducing him, but he had never taken a bite. But just now, he had taken a small bite. If you want a horse to run, you have to feed it, right? Let her have a taste of his sweetness, and she would be obedient. The number of employees in Rema Group was increasing, and the staff structure was becoming more and more complicated. As the chairman of Rema Group, his main job was to control and direct his employees. This was the art of managing people. If you were careless, you would. Qin Kai-wei couldn't continue. What she wanted to say was, if you were careless and put your mouth on her ear for more than a minute, if you were careless, you would eat her up. Remember what I told you. This matter is very important to me. Charlotte reminded her again. Okay, I'll remember. Qin Kai-wei became obedient again. That's it then. Charlotte walked towards Yelena. Yelena stood in a corner like a bystander. As Charlotte's other secretary, she always seemed so different. Charlotte walked to Yelena's side and whispered in Russian, Tell our people that there will be an operation tonight. What are you going to do? Yelena's eyes were filled with suspicion. Charlotte moved his head close to Yelena's ear. Chapter 699. Stars dotted the sky, and the city lights illuminated the night sky. The night scene of Paris was as beautiful as a dream. Quietly burning candles, French fried foie gras, steak, red wine, and a blonde beauty in the candlelight. For a man, this was the romance of Paris. Jacqueline Eva was wearing a white evening gown. It was low-cut and left her shoulders bare. Her snow-white neck, her fragrant shoulders, and her cleavage were all exposed to Sia's field of vision. She looked natural and unrestrained, allowing him to admire her beauty. However, what Xiale saw the most was the bulge that was covered by the cloth, but he could still clearly see the two granules. Hazy beauty was the most seductive beauty. After a few glasses of red wine, Jacqueline Eva's cheeks were a little red. "Mr. Xia, you must be a good drinker, right?" Charlotte smiled. "Not very good, but red wine can't get you drunk. The alcohol content of white wine in our country is usually 50 to 60%. I could drink a caddy of that kind of wine, or more." "My God!" Jacqueline Eva's mouth opened wide. "You can drink a caddy of such a high alcohol content. If I drink that much alcohol, I'll be drunk to death. I'm so disappointed. I wanted to get you drunk, but now it seems that I can't do it. I'm almost drunk, but you're not even a little bit drunk. Do you want to get me drunk? Then what?" Jacqueline Eva pursed her lips and smiled, with a hint of temptation. "What do you want to do?" Charlotte coughed. "My question is, what do you want to do after you get me drunk?" "What do you think I want to do? Is this a French tongue twister?" "Huh?" Jacqueline Eva giggled. Her laughter was pleasing to the ear, and her blue eyes were filled with lust. Charlotte looked away and glanced in the direction of the door. At that moment, the door disappeared from his left eye's field of vision, and two special forces of the French National Gendarmerie, standing at the door, suddenly entered his field of vision. Then his eyes moved to a wall. A second later, the space behind the wall also entered his left eye's field of vision. There were two people in that room, a laptop and a monitoring device. Both of them were wearing casual clothes, headphones on their heads, and staring at the laptop monitor. The monitor of the laptop was showing the real-time impact of his dinner with Jacqueline Eva. Xiaolei withdrew his gaze and looked at Jacqueline and Eva with a smile. He seemed to be in love with her. He knew very well that this was not Jacqueline Eva's home, but a place specially prepared by the French intelligence department. The two gendarmes outside the door were responsible for protecting him and Jacqueline Eva, while the two French intelligence agents in the next room were responsible for monitoring him and Jacqueline Eva. The French government was really willing to spend. In order to get his technology, they even sent a beautiful agent like Jacqueline Eva to his door. In the intelligence world, beautiful women were the easiest to get information because their bodies were the most powerful weapons to conquer men. "Mr. Xia, I have prepared the perfume you wanted for you." Jacqueline Eva obviously did not want to play French tongue twister with Charlotte. "Marie's desire?" Charlotte pretended to be moved. "That's great. Can I see it?" "You can get it yourself," Jacqueline Eva said. "They are under my chair." "Under the chair?" Charlotte's eyes instantly penetrated the dining table and the wooden dining chair under Jacqueline Eva's buttocks. Sure enough, there were 3 bottles of perfume hidden under the dining chair. Jacqueline Eva used a plastic bag to stick them to the wooden board under her buttocks. Was this also a reflection of the romance of Paris? A sweet smile appeared on the corner of Jacqueline Eva's mouth, and her voice was filled with temptation. "Mr. Xia, do you want it? If you want it, take it." Charlotte smiled. He put down a napkin, got up, and walked to Jacqueline Eva. Jacqueline and Eva shifted their chairs so that they were facing Charlie. But she did not get up to make it convenient for Charlotte to take the perfume. She still sat on the dining chair and looked at Charlotte with a smile. Her legs were separated at a 20-degree angle, like the door of a treasure house. To get the treasure, one had to go through a door. Her door was slender and round, as if carved out of ivory. Oriental women had a beautiful face and delicate skin. Western women had a curvy face and an explosive figure. Jacqueline's face had the unique, chiseled beauty of Western women. She had a high-nosed bridge and blue eyes. If these features could not attract men, then her body would be her ultimate weapon to conquer men. With a height of 92 meters, big buttocks, slender waist, and long legs, how many men could resist her temptation. You can actually help me take it out. Charlotte stared at her legs and said, They're very precious. If you want to get them, you have to pay a price, Jacqueline Eva said. Charlotte shrugged. Okay. He squatted down, and his eyes inevitably fell on the middle of the ivory door. Between the ivory, a small white dot quietly entered his sight. It was as thin as a cicada's wing, hazy and indistinct. It was like a spark that set the prairie ablaze, carrying the power to destroy everything. The line of defense he built instantly shook, and it would collapse at any time. Charlotte's right hand reached under the dining chair, little by little, carefully. Jacqueline Eva maintained an elegant sitting posture, but just as Charlotte's right hand reached under the dining chair and was about to take the 3 bottles of perfume, her ivory door suddenly closed, and his hand was caught in the gap of the door. Charlotte knew what she wanted to do, but he still pretended to be surprised. Jacqueline Eva suddenly leaned forward, and her whole body was on top of Charlotte. Charlotte instinctively supported his body with his left hand to avoid falling to the ground. But Jacqueline Eva's feet also made a powerful movement, and with absolute advantage, she pressed Charlotte down and fell to the carpet with him. In the process, the dining chair was also knocked to the ground by her feet. 3 bottles of Marie's Desire overflowed from the bottle. The whole room was suddenly filled with the mysterious and alluring smell of the perfume. Charlotte had already seen what kind of perfume Marie's Desire was. He had actually already seen that the 3 bottles of perfume weren't corked properly, but he was too lazy to expose the French female agent's trick. The French female agent had her mission, and he also had his plan. The perfume is overflowing, Charlotte reminded Jacqueline Eva. I still have a lot. I can give you as much as you want. Jacqueline Eva pressed down. She didn't want Charlotte to speak anymore. She used her lips and tongue to block his mouth. Charlotte gave up resisting. With the warm and fragrant body in his arms, the most careful thing he did was to control his breathing. He only inhaled enough air to maintain the normal functioning of his brain and body. As for other things, he didn't care what Jacqueline Eva's hands and mouth were doing. The smell of perfume was getting stronger, and the scene in the room was getting more and more unbearable. In another room, this time we're really lucky. A French intelligence agent stared at the surveillance screen with a wretched smile on his face. Usually boss doesn't even give us a good look, but now she's doing this kind of thing with a China kid in front of us. Haha, I have to make a copy and watch it every night. You're looking for death. Boss is the ace of our pool. I don't need to tell you how powerful she is, do I? If you make a copy of her video, she'll find out in 100 ways, and then you'll be finished, another said. Pool was a nickname for the French General Directorate of Foreign Security, because its headquarters was located in Mortier's old barracks near the Tourville Pool in the 20th arrondissement of Paris. It had this strange nickname. The General Directorate of Foreign Security was a very important intelligence agency in France. Not only did it manage and coordinate all the intelligence and spy departments in France, it was also the largest intelligence and spy organization in France. It gathered the most elite spies and agents in France, collecting intelligence, anti-terrorism, assassination, and subverting hostile regimes all over the world. It was almost a copy of the CIA. Jacqueline Eva was a trump card of the pool. Just from this point, it wasn't difficult to see how determined the French government was to get their hands on Charlotte's technology. I'm just saying, I don't want to die for no reason. It's good that you understand that. Damn, that China kid got lucky. Boss is recognized as the most beautiful woman in our pool. Wow, it's starting. I can't take it anymore. Damn, I have to find a chicken after work. Let's go together. Otherwise, we will suffocate. Isn't that China kid too strong? Otherwise, why do you think boss is working so hard? If I could do it with boss like that China kid, I would be willing to not receive a salary for a year. Dream on. How much do you earn in a year? Do you know how much money that China kid has? Almost 2 billion euros. He can kill you with money. However, at this moment, Jacqueline Eva on the laptop monitor suddenly said, Mr. Xia, what price do you want the French government to pay for your Thunder Dragon intelligent machine tool? your XL 2500 sniper rifle, and Gale assault rifle production line before you reach a deal? The avionics system of the Charles de Gaulle aircraft carrier. Charlotte's words sounded a little confused. Apart from this, I want this, and if the French government agrees, but you need to replace the Brontosaurus smart machine tool with the second generation. Are you willing? I won't do it. Agree. Let's sign the agreement now, okay? Jacqueline Eva's voice sounded like a dream. Charlotte's eyes became dull, and he said mechanically, I will. In front of the laptop, two agents from the General Director of Foreign Security looked at each other and then high-fived. It's done. Boss is boss. After this mission, she will be promoted again. With the signed document from that China kid, we don't have to worry about him not giving in. If he doesn't give us what he promised, we can detain him indefinitely and even put pressure on China. This kind of thing, even if it is brought to the International Court of Justice, he will lose. Let's make a bet. Will boss sign the document with that China kid after the mission? Or will she stop now? After I finish the bet, you will lose. Look at how much boss is enjoying now. She won't care about wasting a few minutes. A few minutes? I don't think she can deal with that China kid in half an hour, right? I'm going to lose. I think you're going to lose. I'll bet 50 euros with you. Deal. The two agents from the General Administration of External Security high-fived again. But at this moment, the curtain was suddenly blown open by the wind. The two agents from the Directorate General of External Security reacted very quickly. The moment the curtain was blown open by the wind, they looked over. But at that moment, a figure appeared at the window. Chapter 700. The two agents from the French Directorate General of State Security reacted as fast as they could, but they were still half a step too late. When they saw the figure, there was already an anesthetic needle in each of their necks. The next second, they fell to the ground with a thud. In the moment before they passed out, they saw the person at the window clearly. It was an Asian face. He hung upside down from the window like a spider. He wasn't holding a gun that fired anesthetic needles, but a blowpipe. They couldn't believe that he was able to knock them down with such a simple and crude thing. The Asian face jumped in through the window and landed without a sound. He was none other than the tiger of the Zodiac Squad, Erdemo. Of course, the face on his face wasn't a real face, but a delicate human skin mask. At the same time, the elevator in the apartment opened, and a black man and woman walked out of the elevator. The black man was tall and reeked of alcohol. He put his arm around the young black woman's waist and muttered something. He was not quiet at all. Honey, I can't wait. You're so charming. Is your head full of that kind of stuff? I hate drunk men. The young black woman said unhappily. What are you talking about? You're wrong. Drunk men are stronger. You'll understand later. I'll be as strong as a tiger. F***CKU. I don't believe this nonsense. The young black woman hit him. At the door of Jacqueline and Eva's room, two special forces soldiers from the gendarmerie watched the black man and woman warily. Their hands were on their guns, ready to draw at any time. Why are there two soldiers there? The young black man yelled. Don't cause trouble, you guy. The young black woman said. I'm not afraid. The young black man didn't seem to care. The two special forces from the military police frowned. One of them scolded. What's with the noise? Get out of here. Just then, the door to the room where the two agents were suddenly opened. A yellow face peeked out from the crack of the door. It was a prying action. The two special forces soldiers reacted almost as soon as the door opened. Without any words or delay, the two special forces soldiers suddenly pulled out their guns and were ready to shoot. The yellow face suddenly disappeared behind the door, and the two special forces chased after it. However, before they could even take 2 steps, they fell to the ground. Their necks were pierced with 2 anesthetic blowing needles. The Erdemu in the room was just a bait to divert the attention of others. The culprits were the black man and woman. After the 2 SWAT soldiers fell to the ground, Erdemu walked out of the room. The 2 black youths also walked to the door. The 3 of them looked at each other, then took out black masks from their pockets and put them on. These 2 black youths were not strangers. The man was Bagu, and the woman was Amanda. After the 3 of them were ready, Bagu suddenly kicked open the door. The three of them rushed in. The room was filled with a scene that made people blush. The men were in a daze, and the women were unable to suppress their excitement. If the man was described as a steed, then the woman would be a medieval pig rider. She urged her horse to gallop forward, heading straight for the root of the problem. But it was this blood-boiling scene that stopped the moment the three masked men rushed into the room. Jacqueline Eva rolled down from Charlotte's body and threw herself at the head of the bed. There was a pistol hidden under the pillow on the bed. Erdemo instantly raised the blowpipe in his hand, and with a puff of his cheeks, he pushed it forward. With a soft puff, an anesthetic needle appeared in Jacqueline Eva's butt. The needle in her butt, but the medicine on the needle couldn't make Jacqueline Eva unconscious immediately. However, she still couldn't get the pistol hidden under the pillow. Just as she threw herself at the side of the bed, Amanda caught her by the waist and used the inertia to throw her to the ground. "Who are you?" Jacqueline Eva said in horror. "You want to—" Amanda punched the back of Jacqueline Eva's head. Jacqueline Eva's head hit the floor. She let out a muffled groan, and her consciousness suddenly became hazy. In her daze, she heard someone talking. "Kill her. My target is Charlotte." It was a man's voice. "No, Boss Knight Moshe has already made it very clear. Don't cause unnecessary trouble." It was a man's voice. "We've already caught Charlotte, and our goal has been achieved. There's no need for us to kill this French woman. She's from the French intelligence department." It was a woman's voice. "Killing her will cause big trouble. Then let's go and take Charlotte away." It was a man's voice. Jacqueline Eva tried to open her eyes a little, and she saw two men wrapping Charlotte in a blanket. The woman took Charlotte's clothes away. The three of them were very fast, and in the blink of an eye, they disappeared from her sight. The anesthetic began to take effect, and she became more and more hazy. In the end, she didn't know anything. After entering the elevator, Bagu put Charlotte down. Amanda handed him some clothes and a human skin mask that she had prepared beforehand. Charlotte awkwardly covered his important parts. "Turn around. Don't peek." Bagu laughed. "Tiger and I are fine, but I don't know about Amanda." Amanda kicked Bagu. "You bastard, don't mess with me." Charlotte quickly put on his clothes and the human skin mask. Only then did his nerves relax. Just now, he wasn't afraid of Jacqueline Eva's Mary's desire because his body had a strong immune function. However, that immune function could only be activated when he was about to lose consciousness. He didn't want things to go that far. Also, what Jacqueline and Eva had just done to him was real. It would take some time for her to calm down as well. "Boss Alessio is ready. Putayon will take us to the meeting place," Erdemu said. "Good. We'll go to Italy tonight," Charlotte said. "Also, I found out the real identity of Jacqueline Eva in that room. She's from the French Directorate General of State Security. She's a colonel. She's the ace agent of the French Directorate General of State Security," Erdemu said. Although Charlotte had long guessed that Jacqueline Eva was a French agent, he didn't expect her to have such a big background. Then, he couldn't help but think of what had just happened. That experience was also a wonderful one for him. "Boss, is Jacqueline Eva tight?" Bagu suddenly asked. Charlotte was speechless. After leaving the apartment, Charlotte and the others got into a Mitsubishi SUV parked on the side of the road. Soon, the Mitsubishi SUV drove into the driveway and disappeared into the night. After some time, Jacqueline Eva slowly regained consciousness. First, her consciousness returned, then her body. She slowly got up. The room was still filled with the strong smell of perfume. It was very quiet. Damn it! Jacqueline Eva recalled what had happened before, and in a rage, she kicked the bedpost. Charlotte had been abducted. A well-laid trap had been destroyed, just like that. For the sake of the country, she had even sacrificed her body to please Charlotte. Just as she was about to succeed, three masked men appeared. This was really despicable. Jacqueline Eva's gaze moved to the carpet. There were still some traces of her and Charlotte rolling around. Those traces made her even angrier and more unforgivable. A minute later, Jacqueline Eva put on her evening gown, but she didn't even put on her shoes before she left the house. The two Special Forces soldiers at the door had disappeared, and the corridor was quiet. She froze for a second, then rushed into the room next door. There were 4 people lying in the room. 2 of them were her subordinates, and 2 were agents of the National Gendarmerie. The laptop used by the 2 agents was still there, but it had been smashed to the ground. The computer's hard drive had also been taken away. The video she and Charlotte shot was very valuable, because if necessary, it could be used as a bargaining chip to make Charlotte more inclined to strike a deal with France. But those 3 guys had even taken away the computer's hard drive. The people had been abducted, and the computer's hard drive had also been taken away. It was tantamount to her working for nothing. Not only that, but her body had also been taken away by Charlotte for nothing. A few minutes later, Jacqueline Eva returned to her room. She found her cell phone and dialed a number. Security code 0913YL. Please connect to Director Benjamin. A few seconds later, a man's voice came from the phone. It's done so quickly? No, Director. The phone was suddenly silent. Jacqueline Eva took a deep breath. Director, the mission has failed. How is that possible? Did he see through it? No, it was about to succeed. I hypnotized Charlotte, and he agreed to sign the document. But just as I was about to ask him to sign, suddenly 3 masked people broke in. They were very skilled and knocked me down. They originally planned to kill me, but then gave up. They took Charlotte away. There were only 3 of them? I'm not sure. I only saw 3 of them. However, 2 Special Forces soldiers from the military police were also knocked down, as well as 2 of my men. A bunch of useless people. After planning for so long, you actually messed it up. I'm sorry, Director. What's the use of sorry? Who was it? Who did it? Jacqueline Eva thought for a moment. They used a special nerve anesthetic on me, but before I passed out, I vaguely heard them mention a person, Yamosa. Could it be the CIA? It shouldn't be. The CIA wouldn't dare to do this to us because it's almost an act of war. Jacqueline Eva said, I think it's another organization. Please give me some time. I'll find out. I will give you 3 days. You must find out, and you must rescue Charlotte. Please rest assured, Director. I will find out, and I will rescue Charlotte. A bitter smile appeared on Jacqueline Eva's lips. With the skills of those 3 people, it was easier said than done to rescue Charlotte. Also, don't tell anyone about this. Tell your people and those 2 idiotic Special Forces soldiers to shut their mouths. Yes, I know. If the people from Rema Group ask about Charlotte, how will you answer? I will say, Jacqueline Eva thought for a moment. I don't know. There was no sound on the phone. Jacqueline Eva was in a daze for a while, and then she sat on the bed. She looked at the marks on the carpet, her mind full of memories. Chapter 701. One day later, in the small town of Babaio in northern Italy. When he arrived at this place, Charlotte felt a sense of déjà vu. It wasn't because he had been here before, but because of the landscape painting that Peaceful had painted. Peaceful had painted a medieval town. In front of him was a modern town. The medieval buildings were almost gone, but there were still some ancient traces in some places. Boss, this is Babaio. Da Vinci used to live here. Mona Lisa was also set here. Although I haven't been here before, I know it very well. In an old pickup truck, Alessio explained to Charlotte. He seemed to want to be Charlotte's tour guide. Charlotte said, I want to walk around alone. You guys keep in touch. Okay, no problem. Alessio smiled and said, Also, boss, Italian girls are very open. You have to be careful. Don't get tricked into bed by them. Charlotte smiled and got out of the car. Then he walked along a street. The streets of the town weren't very busy. There were very few pedestrians. Although Mona Lisa was created here, it was still an oil painting. It alone couldn't support the tourism industry here. After crossing the street, Charlotte continued to walk forward aimlessly. He wore a human skin mask on his face. No matter how one looked at it, there was no trace of Charlotte. He was carrying a backpack. He looked like a backpacker from the East. The members of the Zodiac team didn't follow him. They were scattered in every corner of the town. They had long since brought the town into their control. Charlotte naturally had his reasons for not letting them follow him. Firstly, it was easy to attract attention when 7 or 8 people walked together. They had different skin colors. Secondly, he didn't want them to know what he was doing in this town. He didn't even tell Long Bing and Xia Shui about the ancient alloy and the secret of AE. How could he tell them casually? In fact, there was another reason. He was the leader of the Zodiac team, and they were his subordinates. He didn't need to tell them anything. He only needed to control them and make them do things according to his wishes. Walking out of the town, a river came into view. The river was neither big nor small. On both sides of the river was a dense forest. Both the left and the right side of the forest had a small path winding through it. Xiaolei followed the path on the left and walked for a while before he saw a stone bridge. It was a very old stone bridge. The stones used to build the bridge were covered in moss, and some of the stones were already mottled beyond recognition. At first glance, this stone bridge had at least a few hundred years of history. When he saw the stone bridge, Charlotte's heart skipped a beat. Isn't this the big stone bridge in Mona Lisa? It looks like I'm close to my destination. Stepping onto the stone bridge, Charlotte couldn't help but imagine a scene in his mind. A woman in a long black dress had her back to the bridge. She was facing an artist with a charming smile on her face. The artist was focused on his painting. His eyes were deep and full of wisdom. His name was Leonardo da Vinci, and the woman in front of him was the character in Mona Lisa, Lisa Gladini. What was the reason that brought these two together? And then they created this world-famous painting. This was a question that only Da Vinci himself could answer. Thinking of Da Vinci, Charlotte couldn't help but have a new question in his mind. That was, when did Da Vinci write the map and his message in pencil on the painting? Why would he hide such important information in an oil painting? After all, he certainly couldn't have predicted that this oil painting would become the world's most famous painting. While thinking, Charlotte's gaze shifted to the bottom of the stone bridge. He saw an old man fishing. The old man had silver hair and was very tall. His appearance and build were typical of Caucasians. When Charlotte saw the old man also looked over and saw him. "Hey, young friend, are you here for vacation?" The old man took the initiative to greet Charlotte, looking very friendly. His accent was also pure Italian. Charlotte nodded and said, "Yes, I like this place. You won't be disappointed. This is the most beautiful place in all of Italy. Walk around, you'll definitely find something. Good luck." The old man waved at Charlotte. "Good luck," Charlotte said, and then left the stone bridge. Perhaps Charlotte's words had an effect. Just as he walked off the stone bridge, the fishing float on the river suddenly sank into the water. The old man suddenly pulled the fishing rod in his hand, and a big fish was pulled out of the water. "This old man's reaction is quite fast," Charlotte said in his heart. He retracted his gaze, walked into the forest path, and then continued walking forward. The forest was quiet, and from time to time, a gust of wind would blow, shaking the treetops and making rustling sounds. Occasionally, a small bird would fly up and make chirping sounds. This place didn't have any of the hustle and bustle of the city, and it could bring a kind of spiritual peace. Could it be that Da Vinci had passed through here? This kind of speculation was meaningless, but it was very beautiful. After walking for about 500 meters, Xia Lei walked out of the forest, and a pile of rocks entered his line of sight. He was instantly captivated by it. The pile of rocks wasn't natural stone, but stone that had been chiseled by a stonemason. It was stone bricks used for construction. The oil painting that Peaceful had painted appeared in his mind again. It was a house, a hillside behind the house, and a tombstone at the bottom of the hillside. His line of sight moved away from the ruins and looked behind him. Then, a hillside entered his sight. The terrain was exactly the same as the hillside behind the house that Peaceful had painted. Found it. Charlotte's heart was filled with excitement as he quickly walked over. A few minutes later, Charlotte arrived at the ruins. Pieces of stone were scattered in the grass. The cracks, moss, and missing parts were all evidence of age. They were at least a few hundred years old. Some of the stone had carvings on them, and most of them were related to religion. There were crosses, Virgin Mary, and holy children. In Peaceful's painting, A young man wearing jeans and carrying a backpack was looking in the direction of the hillside. Now, Charlotte was standing in the same spot. He was also wearing jeans and carrying a backpack. He was also looking in the direction of the hillside. At that moment, time and space seemed to overlap. It was difficult to tell whether it was in the painting or outside the painting. In Peaceful's painting, this house is very beautiful. The town she drew was a medieval town, without any modern elements. But she drew a modern person, standing where I'm standing right now. She definitely hasn't been here before, but she drew it. If she drew it from her memory, then wouldn't her memory be? Thinking of this, Xiaolei's back suddenly felt a chill. If Peaceful had drawn it from memory, then her memory was at least a few hundred years old, but Peaceful was only in her 20s. How is that possible? D*M, I think we're lost. A woman's voice suddenly came. Charlotte's thoughts were interrupted, and he looked in the direction of the voice. An old woman and an old man were walking along the path. The old man looked like a couple, chattering as he walked. I can't be wrong, the old man said. I came here 50 years ago. I remember it clearly. But I don't see any church. Are you sure you remember correctly? The old woman looked like she couldn't walk anymore. She looked tired. Walk a little further, and I think you should see the church. The old man held the old woman and continued walking. There's a young man there. I don't know if he knows the church. The old woman saw Charlotte. Hey, young friend, where are you from? The old man greeted Charlotte. Charlotte hesitated. Korea. I'm Korean. Oh, your Italian is very good. The old man smiled. Charlotte smiled. I live in Italy. Oh, that's not bad, the old man said. By the way, do you know of a church nearby? A church. Charlotte looked around, but even with his left eye, which could see more than 4,000 meters, he didn't see any church. There isn't one? The old woman looked disappointed. My husband said he was baptized in that church when he was young. He wanted to go there before he left this world. But I think we're lost. Charlotte's mind was suddenly reminded of the painting Peaceful had drawn. There was a church in the painting. The town in the painting was a town from hundreds of years ago. A few hundred years had passed, and the place had changed. He didn't know if the church was still there. What does the church look like? Charlotte asked. The old man said, well, it is a very old church. It has a very high dome, and it has stained glass like the Milan Cathedral. Have you been to the Milan Cathedral? Oh, I have. It is very beautiful. Charlotte had never been to the Milan Cathedral. He pointed at the back of the hill. The church you're talking about is probably there. You can see it after you climb over this hill. He wasn't pointing in a random direction. He was pointing in the direction of the church in Peaceful's painting. Thank you, young friend. The old woman thanked Charlotte. Charlotte said politely, You're welcome. I wish you a safe journey. The old man smiled at Charlotte and said, I told you. I have been to that place. How could I remember wrong? Let's go. We will be there soon. The old man and the old woman left. Charlotte watched the old man and the old woman leave. When they were out of sight, he left the ruins and walked toward the hill. There was no road, and the weeds grew to his knees. There were no tombstones in front of him. There were weeds and weeds. Suddenly, the grass in front of him moved. Charlotte's nerves tightened. He placed one hand on his waist. He had a Viper pistol on his waist. If something unexpected happened, he wouldn't hesitate to use it. Rustle, rustle, rustle. There was a sound coming from the grass. You're tuning into the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.